Here we go. Family. Somebody has to. Okay, we have to do a muting.
What you hear in the background?
There was an echo, but it's not anymore.
Okay.
All right. Peace to the family. Peace to you and yours. Welcome to another episode of Know the Ledge Radio. You are now rocking with the best. Yes, I am here with my co-host for the evening, the brother Blue Pill. Is that a cell phone that you're coming through from, Blue? Or
no? I'm on my laptop. Wow, what's going on?
I'm seeing some pixelations.
You seeing pixelations over here?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I need you to be a little more on the crispier side. You know what I mean? You deserve that.
I'm in HD from where I'm at. I don't know what's going on with your camera.
Let me pull up my.
Let me talk to him. Yeah.
Let me pull it up on the phone.
I'm joining 1080. Yes, indeed. Peace, love, and light, y'all. Welcome back to Know the Ledge Radio. You are now rocking with the best. Yes, indeed. This is your co-host, Brother Blue. I am joined by my other host, Brother Red, and we have a surprise in store for you tonight to inaugurate 2020 KTL Radio returning to KTL TV / KTL Media. It's only right that we do this right.
Yeah. Right. You pixelating. You ain't on you're not on Pixar right now, my good brother. You know what I'm talking about? We need. I can't read what's on that scarf.
Bro, look. I had to stop what I was doing to get here. Bad enough. You feel me? My joint is running. I have bad reception in where I'm at. And it's part of this development. We're gonna have to do what we gotta do. You dig what I'm saying? Let's go.
Let me do a shout out. You want to do the roll call real quick to the family in the building, or you just
do that? I don't do roll calls.
All right. Peace to the family. I just want to do a quick roll call. Then we are going to bring the good doctor in the building. We just want to know where the family is broadcasting from. So we are here with the 804. Salute to the 804. We are here with North Carolina. Salute to NC. Greetings from Arkansas. Greetings from Philadelphia. All right. Peace from Oakland. Town business. Peace from Philadelphia once again. Oakland again in the building. Peace to Connecticut in the building. All right. Let's see. Chi-Town is in the building. Salute to Chi-Town. York, PA is in the building. Salute to York, PA. All right. Charlotte is in the building. Salute to Charlotte in the building. Always with us.
Yeah. Tell me if the graphics got any better.
Not yet, young man. Not yet.
Okay.
Macon is in the building. Macon, Georgia is in the building. You dig? Louisville, Kentucky. Strong Island, New York. Durham, North Carolina. Memphis is in the building. Fort Lauderdale is in the building. 313. That's the D, right? In the building. South Carolina. New England is in the building. Be more. South Georgia is in the building. All right. The whole world is in the building. Let's just leave it at that. All right. Salute to the whole world. Salute to the planet. Salute to the global family. Salute to the galactical family. We are not going to keep anybody waiting any longer. We are going to bring our guest for the evening into the building. So without any further ado, we proudly present to you our master teacher, Dr. Phil Valentine. All right. There we go.
Yes, indeed.
Baba, let me unmute your mic. Okay. Greetings. Peace.
Yes,
okay, this is kind of new for me, so you don't have to.
Yeah. We're gonna walk you through.
Yeah. You got it, though. Indeed.
Yes.
How y'all been?
Amazing.
Awesome.
Good. Good to know. Good to know.
And
how have you been?
Well, a little cold down here. Usually it's characteristically cold down here in Florida.
This
But
time of year, right?
yeah. But I still got a little bit of New York antifreeze in me.
That's right. I saw 37 degrees this morning with iguanas, an iguana warning because they were falling off the trees like icicles.
Yeah. They need that heat. They need
I
that
know
heat.
they do. Pray for the iguanas, family. I don't know if they realize this, but the lizards are like roaches in Florida. Those are the pigeons of Florida.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, you're right.
So how is your 2020 starting out? How's everything rolling out for you?
Pretty much like I had predicted about 30 years ago. It's pretty much another transition and another opportunity for us to actually practice what we have been preaching for the longest period of time. People in our community now are about to be tested, and because they have been doing the work, if they've been really doing the work, tests should come very easily to them.
Yeah.
So today, everybody's crying the blues about, I think it was about Saturn in Pluto or something like that. We are conjunct with all three together, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto.
Yes, indeed. We've been covering that conjunction. We've been covering that.
Yeah, well, it's just a matter of whatever you have been working on in yourself. If you've been working diligently to raise your vibration in your consciousness, then all of that will just be bringing to the surface what it is that you've been working on. It's not something that is going to impede what you're doing, but get the bugs out
That's
that you may not have seen, you see. And so when you're dealing with Pluto, you're dealing with the subatomic. So you're dealing on the genetic level, you're dealing on the microbial level, you're dealing on the molecular level. And it's kind of wild, it's explosive. Whereas Saturn is very contractive, it's restrictive, it's life lessons. You better have your strength up, your spiritual strength, your emotional strength up. So the two of them coming together are going to exchange. So Pluto is going to exchange with Saturn, and Saturn is going to exchange with Pluto. So whatever it is that they're supposed to do, they're going to do opposite, or they're going to join with each other, and you're going to see that they're going to take on the vibrations of each other, which is where the confusion is going to come in, where you might see different false flags coming up, and out of an atomic persuasion, you might see the setting off of a nuke at this particular time. You may see life lessons based upon people who've been getting away with a lot, like the United Snakes of America. You're going to start seeing a lot of changes going on in the economy. Don't get fooled by the fact that you see there's a lot of jobs coming out there. All of this is being propped up. And with Jupiter now in that alignment, everything is going to be bigger, much bigger. So your work is going to be amplified. Just for those who are dealing with the astrology, who keep looking at the dome, it's nothing more than a lesson plan. And your lesson plan is based upon what it is you've been studying. If you've been studying all of what it is you need to do to rise, then you'll pass the test, because you'll understand what these trials are in the long run.
Interesting. I've been feeling the effects of the conjunction. I can attest to the pressure that is apparent, and just what you said is bringing some kind of solstice to me. It's some reassurance, because it's some. I feel it. It's heavy pressure out there.
Yeah,
pressure.
You will be tested. That's why we've opened up our school to over the last 15 years, 13 years online. But for the last 30 years, we've been dealing with the university, and we've had so many beautiful people that have joined us, and I can't name their names because some of them are very powerful celebrities. But a lot of the brothers and sisters are now coming back to school, real school, not the schooling that they've been getting, which is pretty much indoctrination high, and you know the college of how much you can regurgitate. But now we're dealing with universities that are opening up and mirroring our university because we're the first online university. Uh, my Baba, my big brother, Professor Smalls, and my bigger brother, Dr. Jeffries, can attest to the fact that we've been doing this first before any of the bigger universities have been doing it. We started it with a particular program that was available at that time, very expensive. So back in 2005, we instituted the University of Communication Sciences online. And now a lot of universities are taking that particular template and they're even charging monthly what we have been charging for our semesters, which we're very happy that so many brothers and sisters have been able to forward the work based upon what it is we've been opening up and giving them access to.
Very few people can attest to what you can attest to in terms of, you know, the length and period of time that you have been teaching through different mediums. Okay. So we know that you have, you know, been teaching since VHS tapes. You've done live lectures, DVD era. You know what I'm saying? You were a giant in that. And now we have the internet, the online era, you know, this aspect of the Aquarian age, you feel me, the virtual age.
Mm-hmm.
How have you been able to gauge the effectiveness of, you know, how your information, your message has been able to reach people? Do you notice the difference through the different stratas of mediums that you've been able to use to get the information and the word out?
Oh, well, I see brothers and sisters, brothers like yourself, sisters that are out there doing the work. I'm seeing that there is a refocusing of one's perceptions and activities based on those perceptions. I'm watching how a lot of young brothers are repeating or bringing back old materials that we've been working with for the last 40 years, and they're having a fresh new audience, young audience, that is appreciating it now because what I felt responsible for as part of the eldership at that time was not giving the young brothers and sisters who actually, you remember those times when they were kind of going buck wild in the so-called rap community, and they were taking hip hop and kind of perverting it. And it seems that the elders at that time were not paying attention to a lot of the young brothers and sisters as like the metaphysical community were doing. And so a lot of brothers and sisters kind of skipped a generation at that time. And now the generation that skipped has now said, wait a minute, there's something missing in who I am, what I'm doing. And I am looking now to bring back the spirituality. But they're coming from an intellectual perspective, which is what we actually been crying for them to do. We want them to take religion from an intellectual perspective to prove, show and prove. If you are dealing with spirituality, then you understand that that is a science. It's not a belief system, it's a science. And if you come from a scientific perspective in studying spirit, then all of the secrets of the universe, not from the church of the quantum physicists. I'm not talking about that. That's a church. That's a whole religious, it's almost like a Vatican, which is what quantum physics is about. The whole quantum this and quantum that, that's a church. It's a belief system that they've taken metaphysics and they've made their own language out of it. We have to do what we did. Our ancestors already did that with the markings on the walls. Every religion is actually pretty much biting on Afro-Kemetic and ancient Tamuan Khan high sciences in the spirit. That's what religion is. Religion is a stepchild. It is the bastardized version of what we have been teaching as a science of the spirit. And this avatar is now been disconnected from that science because each of the avatars that we now occupy The young people collectively have lost that connection with the inner light that's supposed to guide the avatar, that's supposed to teach the avatar, and to help the avatar to navigate in third density. We've disconnected that child. Now we're going into mechanics. Instead of us developing the first technology, we are now dealing with a secondary and vicarious technology that they call virtual reality and the IAI. We're now casting all of what we're supposed to be doing with this avatar and we're putting it into a machine and perfecting that instead of perfecting ourselves.
Mm,
Mm.
interesting.
Now, how does one balance spiritual development with automation of industry? You know what I'm saying? Because industry dictates that if you want to be industrious on this planet or this particular plane, you have to create. And the things that are going to be created are the things that are in alignment with the particular cosmological times, even though spiritual inward development is in line with cosmological times as well. How does one factor one over the other, especially if man is in a place to think that economics and industry is something that he should put before spiritual development?
Well, if you do that, then you end up with what we already have. And you're seeing that it automatically will end up destroying itself. You have to remember that if the spirit does not precede the technology, then the technology destroys the spirit.
That's right.
And
Takes
you
off.
have to have the precursors first. Most of the scientists that's building all this fantastic technology are still stuck in Christianity. They have this vicarious perspective on deity, that something is out there and it's not in here. And they're developing tomorrow based on that premise.
Mm,
And we have a disconnect. They say that the more we get into AI, the more we get into our God selves. These are what the people promoting that are saying. But it's the opposite. If you do not understand what you're supposed to be doing based upon you creating something, in other words, there's an old saying that, quote unquote, when God created man, man then turned around with the idea of God and then recreated God. So now man is creating God, and when man creates God, then man thinks he's God, then man becomes God. And therefore, what man does is to do or to imitate what God does. And this is what AI is about.
Right. I mean, is that not just a natural progression? If we was to borrow a page out of the 5% of playbook, and they talk about Yakub and the fact that a mankind was grafted from humankind, right? And then that grafted species is going to want to perpetuate creating or grafting a species itself because it's going to follow the perpetual motion of which itself was created and of which its predecessors follow, which is to mimic creation. And then this individual that we say has no inner world or inner connections to that inner spirit, right? Because we have been taught that that individual has no spirit. You feel me? Then that particular individual, and it's key because they say AI has been developed by what 90% white male men, right?
Mm-hmm.
It comes out of the mind of a person who genetically has a concept of finite time.
Mm-hmm.
So that person is going to create something that's an exoskeleton for its existence, right? To express itself through and also to travel through this realm of time and space, of which all of the information says they're not going to be retrofitted or formatted for. So knowing this and knowing what was already coming, because I could have figured this out 20 years ago with the information.
Mm-hmm.
How do we maneuver and position ourselves to not get hit by the obvious, or as Thanos said, the inevitable?
Mm-hmm. Well, everything you do has an inevitability attached to it, always. Now, if you look back in some of my lectures, I spoke about the fact that because he could not create or go into his God self or to master the original technology, he created a secondary space for his technology.
mm,
Because space essentially is the working grounds of the spirit. Space is not vacuum, it's not It's not empty. It is the abode of the spirit. And the activity of what you call space and time, space essentially is the template. It's the drawing board.
Yes.
Time is essentially the elemental that brings everything together into manifestation. So his version of space time is based upon the artificial structuring that you see on your arm or you put up on your wall. We had space based on time, based upon the circling of the sun and the moon, and what it is that we saw in the movement of the dome around. And the dome has about 360 different layers of compressed hydrogen. We don't see that, the movement, we only see one movement, but there are different movements going on, which is where you get the conjunction of what you think are planets. Planet is nothing more than, of course, the word planetai, coming from the Greek meaning wanderer. If you were to take a telescope and to look up into the sky, you will see what Saturn and what Venus and the rest of them really look like. They look like essentially pulsating things that are moving at their own orbit based upon the movement of the dome. And what they're doing essentially is moving in accordance with what was called the Word of God. Now, the Word of God is an energy, it is a frequency, it's a vibration. It is the life giving vibration that causes us or allows us to consolidate through the avatar and to experience what we call life. Now, what happens is that word is consistently resonating in the compressed hydrogen. And what has happened is we have a phenomenon that we see down here called sonoluminescence. Sonoluminescence is sound and light coming together to create an effect. And the word as we know it, which essentially condenses into the four elements fire, air, water, and earth, we see the word manifest through specific compressions and through some condensation. There is no such thing as creation. There is only condensation because nothing can be created outside of perfection. So understand and understand that everything condenses upon a template, a intention that the creator puts forth. And we, being the creator's avatar, are the feedback mechanisms for its own perception of self. Now, what you're saying is exactly what we've been saying, is that because of the lack of melanin, because of the compression of his dark matter, the compression of the dark that's supposed to actually express the light, he is only vibrating or concentrating on himself. He can only see reality and can only express his perception of reality by imposing perceives as real upon everything else in third density. Well, he has something called impositional analysis, I call it. He imposes what he thinks is real. He calls it that. This is what it's named. This is what reality is. We were dealing with intuitional analysis, which means we waited for the thing to tell us what it is, to identify itself. And so, because we have not allowed ourselves to get into intuitional analysis, we don't know what those light codes are saying because we keep imposing our own will, his will, on whatever it is that expresses itself to us, just like we see this conjunction today.
How do you get into intuitional analysis in a community like this that's always like primary sources?
Yeah, we don't deal with intuitional analysis anymore. We keep looking for footnotes that somebody else put. Our whole world is based on footnotes. And that's why when you come to the university, we throw out everything and we begin to analyze what it is we're seeing from the word. We reword reality. We tell you what the causal plane is speaking, not what the effects that are being given to us. Because you see, we have been taught to identify our reality by being given words. And these words are what we use to identify reality. So the words, and what I call word war one in my latest webinar, words essentially fixate our perception and tell us this is exactly how you're supposed to view reality. In word war, especially you know that when you're dealing with, say, the universal not the what we call it the universal today, Universal Commercial Code, which is the Uniform Commercial Code. Well, today the Universal Commercial Code, everything is based upon words. Now, I'm showing you this piece of paper as an example. On this piece of paper, there are words. This, according to law, is a vessel. The vessel that is carrying cargo. Words that are supposed to tell the judge or to tell the sheriff that you no longer can live in your home. This is the vessel. This is the paper age. So you now have become essentially part of this because your name is on here. It means that you're a passenger on this particular vessel that's taking charge. That's why the top agency is the U.S. Mail. U.S. Mail right
Yeah.
now is the top agency because of the fact that it carries all of the worth and the wealth and the meaning of our reality back and forth across lines, state lines.
Mm. Indeed.
That's a fact. You know,
Fact.
Postmaster is the most powerful in the country.
General too. You notice he's military. Postmaster
Yeah.
General.
Postmaster General, right?
It's military. And it was owned by Rockefeller. Now it's going to be sold off. They're going to be selling it off to a billionaire. The billionaire is getting ready to buy the U.S. Postal Service.
Wow.
I mean, that's an industry that needs to be rehauled and disrupted to begin with, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Oh, well, you could mail. And again, I don't know if I should be saying this, but you could use the mail. All you have to do is come out of the system and you use the mail by just putting something on your envelope. Once you put it on your envelope, you just hand it in. You don't go inside because that's the postal service. What you stay outside and deal with the postal organization, the postal system. So you always mail on the outside, and whatever it is, we have a certain thing that we put on our envelopes, and we don't have to pay for that. When you step inside the postal service, you have to pay for that service. That's why you have to buy stamps. Every time you walk through that door, you're paying for a service. So you can always, when you come out of her, like they say in Babylon, like our brother Rasta say, come out of her. You just turn it. Your status now is that you're Aboriginal and you are of the land. And that's what I want to tell everybody today. Please understand that we're dealing on the ocean and we're dealing in the air. These are two unstable realities. They're necessary for our existence, but you cannot stand and on air. Well, these are the two elements that have been superseded. There used to be there's three constitutions. One is now defunct or temporarily defunct. That's the Constitution of the land. That's the de jure one. There are two other constitutions working at this time. There is the territorial constitution, which is run by the Queen, and then there's the municipal constitution, which is run by the Pope. You are on the ocean and in the air. The air is the municipal constitution, which is run from out of the 10-mile District of Columbia. And the territorial lands, which you see what we talk about, the territorial lands, is run by the ocean. So you're standing in water every time you stand before the so-called judge, which is no more judge.
Hence the fact that, you enter the bank, you know what I'm saying?
Banks of the river.
Yeah, once you cross that bank, you are literally or physically in the ocean, under maritime law.
Maritime law, exactly.
Well, what's interesting to me at this particular time, there has been a conversation that has sprouted for political purposes in the last 2 years, maybe give or take, Red. The ADOS conversation is centered around reparations. A lot of our brothers are now embracing not necessarily their indigenous status, but they're claiming to be, I'm from the land, I'm Aboriginal to the land without using that language. Have you come across any of these brothers or had any conversations to give them some insight or some game into what exactly status it entails, or if there's any validity to their argument by way of how they're going about asking for reparations?
Well, I don't think that they're going to get any reparations because they're actually asking it from a corporation. It's ridiculous to ask for reparations in a corporation. I keep telling everyone that an African American can't receive anything because there's no such entity that ever lived. It's an artificial entity. A nigger, Negro, none of these appellations will ever get any kind of what do you call it? Reparations for anything. The only reason the Japanese got it is because they have a state. Because the Japanese government have a nation, they can appeal. You don't have a nation. You have a nation in absentia. Okay. Now the Moors, my good brothers in the Moors, good sisters in the Moors, dealing from Taj Tariq and our good brothers, they've set up the Moorish American Consulate. You can go to MoorishAmericanConsulate.org and look at what they and see if you wish to deal from a Morris perspective. Now, there's also another perspective that I'm going to be representing, and I've had the privilege of representing, is going to be the United States of North America, which were, which were the original creator of the de jure Constitution. The original creator of the de jure Constitution was the Constitution of the land. That Constitution was supposed to delegate responsibilities to those who now have taken over the constitutions by imposing these constitutions. The last United States of America was actually filed in Scotland. So Scotland is where the last United States was actually filed. The other thing is that the United Nations, though it is in New York as a brick and mortar, it's filed in California. It's about to it's about to be, I guess they're looking for a new home for the United Nations, and they're checking South Korea. They may put it in the Philippines. We're not sure. But I'm dealing with, and I can't speak too much on it. I can only give you visceral pieces of the information. Anybody wishing to know more about it, they can get in contact with me, and I'll give that information a little later on. The United States of North America, the USNA, and we'll speak about that a little bit more in depth at another time when I'm given permission to do a heck of a lot more information about it. But they have all of the de jure information. I can read off a few of the things that they are representing, all of the different indigenous peoples that are part of that. And see, the Moors were a part of that. It's not, they were indigenous peoples, but they were a part of it. The Moors were not the total, I guess, the broad stroke reality. No, the Aboriginals or the indigenous and the people who were there, we were the so-called black people. The indigenous were black. In fact, the first 13 colonies, if you want to deal with Brother Cummings' book, dealing with the 13 black colonies, you should deal with the first 13 black colonies. In fact, the kings of England at the time were black. The Scots were black. You got to get into the fact that the Scots were ruddy black, and the ones that you see coming out of there playing by Sean Connery and them, they were the originals. The originals were the black Scots, and the original people that were actually causing this, what we call the brutish Moors or the brute Moors, they were all black.
That's facts.
They were the enslavers. They hooked up with the Vikings to enslave the Slavs, the people in the Slavic nations. They hooked up with them to enslave them as well. Brought some of them over here as so-called indentured servants, which is ridiculous to call themselves that. It's a slave is a slave by any other name. But to understand that we have to sort out the factions and not all together because we were nations. They were at the time of the Guyana Shogoa, or the Great Law of Peace. It was the brother that we can now call Hiawatha, who actually was speaking for another man who, by this name, let me see if I can find his name for you. He was the one who put together the Great Law of Peace that brought together the Six Nation Confederacy. The Six Nation Confederacy and the Great Law of Peace was the foundation for not the, but a Declaration of Independence. A Declaration of Independence, which we were going to estrange ourselves from the Black Brits, a declaration was succeeded by the Declaration of Independence. So there's a lot of history that is actually twistery, I call it, and we are actually laboring under twistery. Information that has bouncing off of walls. And of course, this being the age of so-called Aquarius or the age of Hapi, all truth will come to the surface. And some people are not going to want to accept it. But again, when the time comes, I will be doing a major lecture on some things about what was going on, where all the gold is stashed, where the fact that all of the laws and all of the treaties are actually stored. Do you know that our monies are not printed here in the United States? Our monies are printed in the Philippines. Dollar, see there.
That's where the goal is.
And the gold is in caves, and I'm talking 150 quintillion dollars worth.
I seen the pictures. I seen
Yeah.
from people that were physically there. I didn't know if you was gonna go into that, but
Yeah, but you see, hold off on that. Right now, I'm not, the Prime Minister has not given me permission to speak too deeply on that.
I already know. He going there? Look,
real quick, before we move on, you've been talking about Prince Harry throughout the years. You know, you were one of the first teachers that I've heard tie in Prince Harry to Harry Potter, and you were speaking about the bloodline, and you predicted that he would be very dominant in today's news cycle about 10 years ago. I remember he fell into obscurity. People weren't even paying attention to him. But now he's back with a bang. And him and his melanated wife, Meghan Markle, have, they've done something that hasn't been seen in a very long time. And they've made their public exit from the duties of the royal family. Can you touch on that, please?
Indeed.
Right in the family?
Indeed. This was predicted to come about a while back, and my sources have told me about this. The Queen is about to abdicate. And from what I understand, she's abdicating, and William will be taking over as king. When his coronation will take place, I'm not sure, but the Pope is supposed to, and I'm not, again, this is all words that were given to me years ago, and whether they change, things change. So don't say, well, he said that and it didn't happen. I'm telling you what the elders told me, and I'm just giving you that. Just deal with your due diligence and keep making sure that you are studying, keep reaching out, keep looking for the truth, because the truth vacillates. It vacillates because things change, and there's anything that is predictable, it's change. Okay. Right. So what I do know is that the Queen is to abdicate and hand over the reins to William, and he is supposed to be given a formal coronation sometime within the next few months. I'm not sure when. Don't put a date on me. Harry is not part of the bloodline. He is essentially the son of another person who looks exactly like him. I forgot his name, but he is not the son. He married into a bloodline connected directly to the Plantagenet, which is the original one of the black kings. Just like I was telling to you, she is a descendant of one of those of the black royalty or the black so-called nobility. And she goes back to 16. She's the 16th generation removed from one of the earls or one of the major men, warriors who was under, at that time, I believe, Richard or whomever it was at that time, who was king, was a legitimate king. In fact, the Plantagenet line was taken over with Victoria. Victoria married into a German line, which was the Gotkote, or they changed their name into Windsor, and they took the name of a specific place where the royalty used to go to vacation at a place called Windsor, and they took that name because they during the world wars, the Germans were the enemies, so they didn't want anybody to know their German background. So
Yeah.
when Victoria married into that line, they took over, and they really the real lines of the kings had to run. Most of the Europeans who are part of that line are now living in Australia. The real kings and the ones who are supposed to be on that throne are living as dirt farmers in Australia right now.
Wow.
So what you're dealing with right now is the Germans who are dealing with, trying to maintain that throne. William is not really the real king, but he does have rights to it based upon the fact that he's part of the bloodline of Victoria. So when he ascends the throne, because he's directly from that line, he's a little more, they say he's a little more progressive. So he's a little more amenable to the changes that the earth is getting ready to go through. But we have to watch him because he has a genocidal 2020, 2030, or Agenda 21 to 2030, which is part of my newest webinar, which is called RecCon 2020, World War One, which is the resynchronization of reality through the perversion of meaning. And when you deal with meaning, this is where we get into the wordology and understand how it is that we're going to be dealing. There it is. So we're going to deal with the constitutional con, and we're going to deal with the metaphysics of the Universal Commercial Code, which is formerly the Uniform Commercial Code, and it's the declaration of word war via commerce and maritime law. So dealing with word war. Word war is exactly what this whole thing about the court system is. When you're dealing in maritime law, you're battling on the seas. And if
Fact.
you don't understand how your ammunition should be put together, like for instance, you see right there with all this, you have red pill and fill the more, and you see blue pill,
Fact.
and you see how I write my name?
Yes.
Mhm.
That's how you're supposed to write
It's,
your name.
Hold up.
yeah, it's mathematically, grammatically correct.
Hmm.
I know
Yeah,
about the syntax, and yes, this
indeed. That's called that's
grammatically
called the Justinian deception. The
yeah.
Justinian deception is that you've written that out as a Roman marquis, and you're supposed to put a hyphen in between each one of those words.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's called dog Latin, and dog Latin are for the ignorant.
What's Pig Latin for?
Oh, that's just to communicate so that the white man don't know what you're talking about while you try to end up in his house and try to kill him.
Right, that's right. Let me real quick, let me put that flyer back up for Word War,
Yeah,
and let's give the family the some information on how they could tap in, because
by
there's
all means.
about 800 in the building, and I know that
Hmm.
they want to be I know that they're gonna want to be in that classroom.
Oh, that it's going to be eight. It's going to be 8.5 hours of information that we're breaking down right now into 4 sections of 2 hours apiece for easier access and for easier learning. If you want to actually participate in it, I ask you to either go up online and put your email into our into our mailing system, into our what's it called? You know what I mean? When you put your name into our mailing list. By the way, yeah. And or you can actually send a request to my personal email, and that request should go to sanu777 at gmail.com. That's S as in science, U, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, U, 777 at gmail.com. Now you can go for just put a request in there, put it in all capital letters, put webinar, WEBINAR, Retcon 2020 if you want, but just put webinar, thank you, in the subject box, and I will put you directly into our mail. And we're supposed to be within the next 2 or 3 days, we will have that link. But you can go now, and I think that I sent that over to you, Brother Red and Blue. I sent over to you the link for you to check out the previous 2 webinars. Yes, that's our book, and that is the university's information.
Yeah.
And what you can do is go up to the site. I think I've given it to you. There should be a link in there, and yeah, the link is in there. And that one link opens up into 2 links where you can purchase the streaming for both of the previous webinars I did, one for 5 hours, another for 6 hours. The first one is Hyperdimensional Warfare Part 2. You remember I did it back in the 90s. I did Part 1. This is Part 2. There you can find all the ways for you to survive. I put every survival mechanism that you need in order for you to deal between 2020 and 2030. The next one, which is Predivore Parallax, the one I did with Brother Rich, I did Part 2 on that. And that one, yes, there you have, that's the link right there that you can actually see if you could put it there for the people to have. This will give you both, in other words. This particular link will give you both of the accesses. And this one is for adults only. People 16 and over only, because it gets too raw, it gets too brutal, and children, young people should not be actually viewing this one. This one gets really deep. So those are the 2. What you saw before was our university, where we prepare you for your new, getting you from out of artificial intelligence, get you into intuitional and natural intelligence, and getting you into the intelligence that was belonging to you. You get into God intelligence instead of artificial intelligence. The other one is the Juice Plus, and you would see that the Juice Plus there for you to call my wife, Dr. Nalani, especially if you're going to have a baby. If you're going to have a baby, this is what you need to have. This Juice Plus especially is awesome. Not only that, young people ages 4 and above, all the way into college, into the university, can get it for free if one of their parents or grandparents sponsor them. So from 4 years up into all the way into college, we are giving off free. Have over 1.5 million children on our Juice Plus family plan, where we deal with giving the Juice Plus to the children for free. So yeah, definitely. I mean, this is something you're going to need, especially when 5G kicks in.
Facts.
Super facts.
Mm-hmm.
What about what are your what information do you have on this new super virus coming out of China?
It's essentially, you have to remember that China also has its deep state, and they're working with the Vatican.
Okay.
And you have to look at the fact that they need, or they require, the CDC and the worldwide deep state requires, and this is another thing in my newest webinar, I speak to the fact that there is a concerted effort to kill off at least 2 to 3 billion people on the planet, or to shorten the lifespan of the so-called useless eaters and useless breeders. They want to shorten the lifespan. And so therefore what they're doing to the food, to the air, to the water, and to the panic system necessary to get you into the clinics to get that vaccination that will then put you into that particular bracket where your lifespan can now be monitored and shortened. You need to have at least 35 different vaccinations to be able to get to your DNA, especially with black boys. Black boys are the ones that are under attack today. Stay away. They need to get them out of school. You need to get our children, our young black boys and girls. But the school system is so hooked up for young girls today that they're going to turn our young boys into girls. That's the main thing right now, to turn boys into girls, to attack the genetic system. And I also, in my webinar, I speak to the fact, and this is something I want you all to really become aware of, how they're going to be able to get to the egg to destroy your the ability for you to have children by weaponizing the nanogenetic frequencies of life. Now I'm going to read off something that I have on my lecture, and I want you to listen very carefully. Scientists have captured the flash. Now, remember back in 1992 or 93, I said that there was, at the time when the sperm enters the egg, there would be an atomic explosion in the middle of the egg.
Yep.
And people were saying, well, wait a minute, what do you mean by that? Because when you study metaphysics, you understand that life is light and that the portal is opened based upon what they call a nuclear explosion, which is essentially what I call an etheric portal opening up based upon light. So
Right.
now, understand this. They've tracked the moment of conception and captured the so-called radiant zinc fireworks when the spermatozoon reaches the nucleic core of the ovum. A team of US researchers found that human life begins in a flash of light as an explosion of tiny sparks erupts from the egg at the exact moment of conception. Now, inside the human ovum, there is a portion within the infrastructure known as the endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum is that portion of the ovum that emanates the flash from the submolecular nuclear explosion known as the Zona reaction. At the moment a spermatozoon penetrates the cells of the corona radiata, the plasma membrane or gelatinous, a what is known as perivitelline space, and the inner cell membrane is punctuated. Now, on the outside part of the egg, there is a frequency that is calling the sperm. Understand this and be very clear about this. There is a frequency that is positive. The sperm has a head that gives off a negative charge. Most people don't know that. That's where you get the circle where you see the negative and positive yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
Opposite polarity happening at the moment of conception. Now, this is the mini nuclear fission that I've spoken about for decades, as well as wrote in my book, The Wounded Womb. It is the light portal or stargate through which the soul spark enters confines of third density from higher dimensional densities to occupy molecular atomic organic matter, heralding in the beginning of the soul's physical occupation of its biological avatar, what we call the human body temple. Through frequency signal alignment between the sperm's acrosomal granule, which is the negative charge, and the egg's plasma membrane and cortical granules, which is a positive charge, proteins on the head of the sperm allow the acrosomal granule to extend and penetrate the egg plasma membrane where the sperm's nucleus enters the egg's cytoplasm, causing the fission material of both nuclei, which is highly radiating potassium ions, to explode, thus opening the stargate and allowing the soul's signature template to enter the initial containment of the soul's embodiment in the form of what is known as a zygote nucleus, after which the fertilization membrane forms around the ovum, preventing other sperm from entering. Now, why am I saying all of this? I'm saying that they have found the frequencies that actually peer us to each other. The frequency that the sperm gives off to guide it so that its acrosomal will then extend, eat away the lining, enter, and then fertilize. They have disrupted the frequencies, and this is what 5G is about to do. Women are going to start having problems becoming pregnant over the
Already.
next 10 years. It's going to happen very slowly. And as a result, you're going to start seeing too, based upon the vaccinations, based upon the frequencies that they're going to be having, because there's no such thing as satellites. There are balloons, high level balloons that's going to be floating off, and they're going to be giving off a necklace around the perimeter of our Earth, of our planetary plane, and they're going to be giving off a specific energy that disrupts the solar force, supposed to give us the information. And I did from the long time, 30, 40 years ago, the light code transmission.
Wow.
I did an episode with a brother. He was a student of a school of thought called the human. What was it called, Red? You remember the Jovian scale? They deal with human design.
Human design.
And this brother was a genius because he came from the 5% school of thought. So he was able to apply mathematics to what this individual was talking with human design. And he was able to crack the code And he told me, based on his research, that by the year 2027, he said the background frequency, like our reality is controlled and held together by a background frequency. He said that background frequency is now changing.
Mm-hmm.
And when that background frequency changes, everything connected to it is going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
And he was explaining to me, and this was about in 2011, he was like, watch for the increase in autistic children
Mm-hmm.
and utilizing, you know, these things that we're talking about are causes, you know, things that are utilized to bring about these particular effects. You know what I mean? And the effect that he was talking about is this, you know, the autistic children are going to have a new form of communication. They're not going to have any interest with any past information, anything that, you know, we may have been interested in as a generation. Oh, I want to learn my history and go into the past. He's like, they right here, they have a new form of communication, you know what I'm saying? And they're only interested with what's going on in their immediate environment.
Yeah, but this thing, well, these two will pass. This thing too will pass. They cannot defeat the program that was set for us to transmute and to transcend. They can delay it, but they cannot stop it. There are too many of us that are working towards that goal, and they cannot kill us all off because the children coming behind us, the autism is to, as you say, shift perception into a controllable matrix, because autistic children can be controlled. They're studying them because they created them. You have to understand and over there. They have studied autism and they know how to do, just like they've studied homosexuality and know how to create it in the womb and know how to maintain it after it comes out of the womb. These are scientific principles for disruption and genocide. I call them the scientists of strategic extinction. Hear these words: scientists of strategic extinction. Strategic extinction means over a period of time, like the frog in the boiling water, you are not going to know. They keep talking about overpopulation. That's a lie. They talk about the earth warming. That's a lie. It's polluted, but it's not warming. It is heating up. Yeah, but it always does that every 10,000 years. So you have to understand as well that they are creating conditions to let me stop here for a moment. The birth rate has dropped significantly on this planet. It has not risen. Do not go for the hype.
That's
The
across the
birth
board.
rate has dropped. It's dropped in the black community, which
Right.
for the life of me, that would never have been happening. Okay, feminism helped it. Nations, abortions, over what, 13 to 15 million children aborted, black children aborted since 1972. Okay, now you can kill a child while it's sitting there on the table. Your boy out of your governor out of was it Virginia? Put it out there. So what I'm saying, and here's the game. The game is you have to estrange yourself from the technologies that they're giving you. It's going to be, all these technologies are going to be so convenient, but not putting up a buttress or a bulwark, a frequency bulwark against the technologies that they're handing you, that they're making so comfortable for you.
Yes.
But your children, your genetics, DNA, your molecular structure, everything. And as your brother said, background frequencies, what we call the curtain.
Right. White noise.
Noise curtain. All of that is going to start shifting consciousness, that there is going to be this apathy that are going to come over people. We're going to be caught up on entertainment. We're going to be calling it, somebody said the fourth wall. No, it's the fifth wall, the fifth column. More like the fourth wall. We're already in the fourth wall.
Real quick, because the family is asking for your Cash App. So that's it right there. Sanu 7 for everybody.
Yes.
But continue, please.
Thank you, brother. So essentially, with this background noise, this white noise, actually it's going to be black noise that's going to take it over. Black noise is your thought process at this particular time. You're going to circumvent. You know, have you ever used to look at these pixels and stare at it long enough and you see something is actually embedded in it,
Yeah.
right?
So,
That is what's getting ready to happen. The air will begin to show you apparitions of people's thoughts because the concentration level is going to be so high. You're going to think somebody that you're communicating with or thinking with is sitting with you in the room. Why? Because your consciousness is now growing to the point where you're beginning to see through the white noise the outlines of what's hidden in there. All the hidden realities, as they say, the pouring out of what you call the Aquarian age,
Yes.
the pouring out of knowledge. Nothing will be secret. Even the air, the space around you will show you that it's being occupied. And those who are raising their consciousness will be able to even see and feel, as I've been getting, constantly been getting information from people telling me that they keep hearing things, seeing things. They think that they have the chips in them. The fools over in Sweden are putting the chips in right now.
Yeah.
They're over there now putting chips in, and it's hey, yay, it's the newest thing.
and you know,
Well,
right.
go ahead, brother.
This is something that's personal to me. You know,
Hmm.
there's been an uptick in sightings of crafts. You know what I'm saying? And it's all over the media. I think last year they said was the, you know, on record the highest year that people have been reported seeing different forms of craft, and there's a lot of uptick in people seeing apparitions and things of that nature. What are your thoughts on this unveiling all of a sudden by the U.S. government of their acknowledgement of quote unquote UFO, them formulating the Space Force, you know, and people's repeated, you know, sightings of different craft that can't yet be explained because they don't match, you feel me, the laws of thermodynamics and everything else, gravity and stuff like that, that people have been trained, you know, to gauge reality with.
Hmm. Well, the spaceships are going to be interdimensional. Understand that. There's ways to travel through what we call the dome, but it's the Stargate is a dimensional gate. You can't. Third density is a compression. Uh, uh, Dimensions are compressed zones of energy activity.
So it's a stack like this.
Yes, it's a stack. It's a pressure.
Okay.
Like for instance, if you were to drive your car and stick your hand out the window, you feel the actual resistance there.
Right.
Right, because you are actually in another frequency of water. The air you are breathing is another density of water. There are different densities that compress us, but the compression under the zone or under the what we call the dome or under what we call the firmament, that is based upon a certain amount of pressure, which is said to be 16,800 or 500 pounds of pressure per square inch. This is necessary for your molecules and all of your cells and your DNA so that it doesn't fly apart. Okay? You are compressed in something called a morphogenetic field. That is what's holding you together. And third density, and when we say not dimension, we say density because there are certain densities here that create what we call third dimension. It's actually a density zone that actually allows us to live. In other words, when you look at a fish swimming in the water, it's operating within a density, a compressed density that we call water. That density is their reality. We can't live there because we're not structured. We have some people like over there in the Philippine Islands or in the islands that can actually stay underwater for what 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes at a time. Why? Because over the time they have acclimated back to the water, and we all came from water.
Right.
Came from the mothers. You know, that's our first baptism. That's why when you go back into the church and they put you into the water, okay, but they put you in the water, they say you're born again. See what I'm saying? You were born in water. You are of water. Every part of you is made up of at least 80% water. Everything is water. Everything is based in movement, which is liquid, which is fluid. Time is actually what stops us, which consolidates us within the water period, within the water structure. Time is an element. Fire, air, water, earth. The fifth element is time. Without time, existence does not come about because time represents a cycle for being to become. Cycle for being to become. So you are in a density of water. Water covers us. And if you remember back in the 1990s, I spoke about the fact that above us is what is known as a compressed hydrogen zone. If you remember some of my teachings, that what we're looking at in the sky is not actually a sky, but back in the 90s, I spoke about the fact that we are in a compressed hydrogen zone. What we see as the so-called Milky Way is actually a suture. That thing that you see is a suture that essentially ended up having to be blended together, and that's going to be in one of my books. But I'm going to probably give you a kind of a primer to the fact that in all of the different legends of the Chinese, Japanese, Africans, the Amerindians, all of them, they all spoke about the flood.
Yeah.
That there was a flood, and the flood essentially was the cracking of the dome, and the suturing it done by a goddess who actually healed the dome. That's where you get this whole Noah, and this is where you get the other one for the what is the name of the way where the Noah myth came from. Uh, Somebody out there. My brother says time doesn't exist. Yes, it does.
It was the story that predated Noah.
Yeah, the story that predated Noah was
Our
actually.
group, or
Say it again.
are we talking about group narrative?
Yeah, we're talking about the legend where it was actually taken from.
No.
Okay. A super chat button to donate during the live. I so interesting how you have these people speaking. I like that.
They got rid of that a long time ago. We don't get any super chats. We're demonetized from YouTube. So.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah.
Oh well, that's a crown in your achievement,
We've
brother.
been monetized from YouTube since they started monetization. They were just
Fantastic. There it is. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank
Thank you.
you. Gilgamesh, the story of Gilgamesh. Thank you.
The
And
Gilgamesh.
yes, there is time does exist. The Epic of Gilgamesh. Very well done. Thank you very much, brother. Yes, time does exist. It is actually a reality. And the ancient Dravidian by the name of Mahamuha Bahayan, his name was Mahmuhi Mahayan. He was the Indian Imhotep. And he was the one who put together the science of time as an element. And he showed how it worked as an element, and that without it, existence would not come about. And I studied Mahmuni Mahayan, who was essentially the Indian Imhotep, and it is a beautiful science. It's called the Mayonic, or the Mayonic. Look it up, the Mayonic sciences. Pachamama. Wow.
Mama.
Velachocha, and yes, with the yes, see, he knows. Milky Way is a splitting. Very good. I love the fact that you have such a conscious group of people working it out.
powerful platform. And because when I was talking to you about the different levels and stratas of which you have disseminated information, you have people that have consumed your information from the VHS days that haven't caught up to to internet Phil Valentine. You know what I'm saying? And you have new information in this particular modern day, the way that you utilize these platforms. So I get beat up by some of your newer students now. They're like, you're not keeping up with Phil. Phil is on the dome and Phil is on the firmament, so y'all still are using Phil language from the 90s. You know what I'm saying?
Well, listen, we all grow because essentially, like I said, everybody say, well, you didn't know nothing about the dome or nothing. Yes, I did. I just chose not to do it because a good friend of mine gave me the book on it, and I was not ready for that information. I wasn't ready to teach it because I didn't even understand the book. And that book essentially was the one that opened me up to do that. But I put that book aside and I said, that's too heavy. It's much too heavy. And I said to myself, I'm not going to actually do something I don't understand. When it began to become its time to be known, all of what I studied before began to make sense. And if you see the lecture that I did, The Flower of Life, pertaining to time, Terrence Howard. Yeah, well, the flower of life was sitting on the side. Uh, the flower of life was sitting on the side of the temples of Kemet, and it was already there. And I forgot the name of this dude who actually took it. European dude who took the flower of life and began to put it out there and say that all these white people are coming down from heaven.
That
And
Melchizedek.
Melchizedek, yeah, or I think he is. Yeah,
Talking
but
about New
yeah.
Jerusalem. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to those, but yes, what more I'm more focused on today is to get the people to be ready. Time shows, bro. And to he's traveled to thank you, brother Hornet.
Time.
Thank you. That's this is new to me, and that's the way that you all people are speaking to one another. This, I'm old. I'm 70, so I don't know what you guys are doing over there, but it is beautiful. I like this little format going on. But what I want to do with our university, by the way, our next university begins, semester begins on the 21st of March, which is the spring equinox. So when you're ready, you can call 800-847-1291. Again, 800-847-1291. And for any of our services, vaccination exemptions, except for people in New York, California, West Virginia, and Mississippi, as well as Massachusetts. They've gone hog ass wild there, your governor. You can call 800-847-1291 for any of our consultations. And you can actually, if you're ready to join our university, just go up to our line where we showed you our the what do you call it, our logo, and you can see it uksnow.org. That's uks.org. My wife just gave me a note here. She said on the university website, if you want the 4 parts, that's it right there. If you want the 4 parts of our retcon, the latest one that I did, do not buy the uncut version. It's a straight 8 hours, and you're probably going to zone out. Wait for us to get it so it's divvied up into the 4 parts that makes it easier for you to actually see. Now, do not close out, please, and I'm saying this to everybody who does go into our webinar. Do not close it out and say, I'm going to shut it down and pick it up later on. You'll have to pay again. You can pause it. You can reverse it so that you can study it. You can even fast forward it, but do not close it out. I've seen so many people doing that and saying, well, I closed it out to go to, or I wanted to see it a little later on. I shut it down and no. Okay, this is a stream. So you can actually work with the stream, reverse and so forth, but then you can't deal. Oh, they're both available now? Uh-oh. Mama just came and showed me that they're both, let me see, what's that? Yeah, there they are. They're both available now. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Redcon 2020 uncut, Redcon 2020 for those. If you want to deal with it, the second one is the study. The first one we're giving to the people who actually paid for it, but were not allowed to go in, or did not go in, or couldn't go in. The second one is for those who want to study it and break it down into the 4 separate parts. Okay, thanks, Mama.
And that's available on this website right here.
It's available right now. It just came in because we just now get it. Thank you very much, brothers. You're the first ones to actually introduce it back to the brothers.
Shout out to Brother Rich, first of all. Black Magic, my brother, Father Rich.
Brother Rich, young brothers like yourselves, Brother King Simon. And you all are actually doing the actual work. Dot. Oh.
Yeah, Malcolm.
Oh, that's an elder, my godson.
Shout out to your master student, A.A. Rashid.
A.A. Rashid.
Yep.
Yeah.
The godson, doing the thing out there on the coast, loving
Yes.
it.
No.
I'm fairly sorry when the pastor torched that last time. I'm fairly certain that everything now is in good hands. You just got to keep, make sure that the ego and that don't get into it. Trying to be a competition with your brother, especially in this movement. You can think that this information belongs to you, but then if you try to embrace it and hold it and keep it as your own, it will destroy you. This is
Yes.
not yours. None of what we're teaching here, none of what I've been teaching belongs to me. And you've never seen me ask you to follow me and do your own due diligence. This is what I have found. I am telling you where to look. What you do with that information is on you. And all three of my webinars, which will be available to you on that website, are to teach you to think for your damn selves. Always vet everybody coming with information to you. Vet me up and down. Put the proctoscope up my behind and take that torch and look for everything. Never, ever, ever take anybody at face value. Never take any preacher, never take any politician, none of them at face value. Always look twice, three times before you make a decision.
I
Okay?
had I was setting up my line of question because I wanted to segue into something that you speak upon that a lot of people might not be familiar with, and I want some clarity on it as well because it's very baffling to me, and that's the Mandela Effect. And I showed the audience the other night on this program how the Bible no longer says the lion. I mean the lion lay with the lamb. Now it's the lamb lay with a wolf,
Yeah.
and but somehow they have managed to get that into people's physical Bibles. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Yeah.
when we're talking about the dimensionality, you say you don't use the word dimensions, but these different planes of existence.
Densities.
Where the stuff that exists over in the Mandela Effect, how is that
Yeah.
interfacing or coinciding with these planes? Are these planes like tectonic plates? Are they shifting through one another? Like
They're
how
blending.
how is it happening?
They're blending. It's a blending. You have to remember that spirit has a lot to do with it. Remember, I don't know if you remember a lecture I did back in the mid 90s when I spoke about the fact that as we go into different densities, we're going to see a remarkable change in the way that people look, how people feel. What would seem real would not be what it is that you remember as real. Did a lecture on that back in the early 1990s because you can't take the shift where we're going. You can't take certain things that belong to that density into the density we're going, which means you
Mhm.
can't take certain artificial things with you into the spiritual density. That's why he is creating his own spiritual world here through artificial intelligence. Our technology is to use the energy that constitutes our life force, and that technology can transcend densities and visit with the gods, visit with the energies that are the word, and actually participate in your origins. This is not your origins. These are not your origins. These are the playground. This is your school. And because he can't go any further than where he has been taught to live, you now are stuck because you've adopted his way of thinking. You really think that there is a white man, not you, but we're made to think that there's a white man that walked on water, crucified on a cross, had all this thing, and he did this and did that. This is what you say to
Yeah,
children with a mentality that has a kindergarten level of intelligence.
yeah. What does that thought form look like? What does that egregor look like? You know, bouncing off of the dome or the firmament. You know what I'm saying? Because they say thoughts are things. So,
Hmm.
what is a melanated mind that looks at a Europeanized deific figure like that in reverence? You know, what do you think that looks like as a thought form?
As a thought form, it becomes a discordant interference, a signal like interference. And we've become so accustomed to the interference that we've adopted an interference into our reality. That interference is subverting our firsthand direct contact with the reality that we're dealing with. When you talk about Jesus, when you talk about even Allah and all these names that they're given to you, you have condensed that so-called idea that is permeating our energies. Because remember, everybody's calling upon Allah, Yahushua, Jesus, and all these names. But what they have done is that they have limited God to a name. You essentially have created a limitation of what God really is. And that causes you to become stultified. You no longer can expand beyond that. You become addicted to that name and therefore empower the name and the person who gave you the name. So what you're doing with your creative energy is giving life to this thing called Jesus, life to this thing called Allah, life to this thing called Yahushua. Who gave you these names? Who gave you these names? Did you say, well, 2000 when God walked upon the earth, when God spoke directly? What? This age where you're dealing with reason and logic, and if I tell you, here, buy this car, well, is it all right? Yeah, trust me, it's all right. Just drive it off the lot. Give me all your money. If you are thinking that you can actually capture something that they've given you, empower it with a name, and then use that name to tap into your own original power, then what you're doing is you're living a vicarious life. You're living a life where you are actually getting secondhand energy frequency, secondhand gifts, secondhand access to what you are as the God within. So if you need a name, name the deity your damn self.
Yes.
You want to name deity. Deity within you is not named Jesus. That's your thought process. And your thought process is limitations. Your thought is trapped in time. In fact, thought is time. That's where thought comes from. Thought and time are one. Now, most people don't understand that because they haven't been to my classes. But if you are trapping yourself in the past, listen, there is no such thing as a future thought. Every thought you have in your head is of the past experience. So thought is nothing more than a catalog. It's a containment for all your experiences so that you can go in later on and tap into what you did in the past. So if you're given a past name, Jesus, you're talking about something that somebody gave to you from the past, and you're stuck in the past. If you can name deity within you through meditation, and I'm not talking about meditation by running all kinds of chants and so, I'm talking about silence. Getting into the silence, finding the silence, shutting down the internal dialogue, shutting down that conversation you have with yourself, shutting down that addiction for thoughts, addiction that keeps your thoughts activated. You're addicted to thinking. You're addicted to downloading. You got to have stimulation constantly coming into your head. You do not know what the silence is about. The silence is your direct area code to God. You cannot rhyme God with all the noise in your head. That is the static. That is the interference. They're putting all kinds of thoughts into your head. They're telling you this is that. Jesus, do this. Pray your Bible, pray your words. All these are noises in your head. The only way you're going to find God within is to shut the damn noise in your head down. That then opens up the area code to God. Silence is the intelligence that gives you the access to your divine self. Not a Bible, not words. All of these are secondhand jerking off of your own consciousness. You're masturbating your consciousness.
How does one find silence in the midst of so much noise then?
The silence and the noise is to not look at the noise that you have in your head and judge it. Everyone has kind of replay of an experience. if it's not a song that they heard, if it's not an argument that they had, if it's not a job that they lost or are seeking, if it's not the money that they're chasing, they have noises in their head, keeping that thing, and thoughts want to be consistently paid attention to. Your thoughts want your attention. And the part of you that is looking at your thoughts, that's you. You are not your thoughts. You think you're your thoughts. You look at your thoughts and think that without my thoughts, I'm not real. I'm not me. You are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are simply experiences that through your chemistry in your brain, through your emotional signatures attached to that experience, that's all that is. When you come into understanding that your thoughts are not you, then you can look at that from the observer. And if you are looking at your thoughts, you ever see anything? You ever hear things in your head like a song? You ever see things in your mind? What is that that's looking at it? What is it that is actually listening to your thoughts? That's you. And when you can stop using thoughts as your masturbatory reality, and you can stop them by not judging them. You see, you always judge your thoughts. Oh man, this man, he pissed me off. Or this woman, she pissed me off. Man, I gotta get this. Man, why am I doing? You're always judging the thoughts in your head, and that just fuels them. It keeps them active. They love it when you keep putting that emotional energy into your thinking process. When you can look at it without assigning a judgment, when your meditation in your stillness, you can just look at all the bric-a-brac. You can hear the cacophonous noise, all the nonsense going on, and not assign a judgment to it. Sooner or later, as you go into that state over and over, less and less of that noise will interfere with you and that space of silence that you're seeking. And that space of silence is the place where you are no longer bringing the third density bullshit that always filters into your head to keep you occupied and constantly distracted, keep you paying attention to what is not real. When you want to come back and do true meditation, you seek it by allowing all the noise to happen without at silence. It's like children who want attention and they get all noisy and they start throwing things, they're screaming. That's your thoughts. If you can ignore them and sit still and just look at them without assigning it any kind of energy, sooner or later they silence. It's a little while, it takes a time, but over and over, you go back into that state and not assign a judgment or a kind of collective meaning to it. And then sooner or later, you fall into this space. It's frightening when you get there because every time in your brain has been conditioned to want to think. It's conditioned to have distractions, input. I need my fix of input. And when you get past that particular addiction for input, as Buddha says, the only reason that you have not reached nirvana is because you are addicted to existing.
Hold on. Yeah, we brought that back to
So yes, I think that Blue, you asked the perfect question because my students learn that meditation is not about trying to find something by putting something in its place, because all you're doing is adding to the noise. True meditation is it starts off with the first two letters. What's that?
And me, right.
Begin to study what it is that you have made important, what you have prioritized in your thought process, why you have given all this amount of attention and importance to these facts that will not carry over into your grave. You learn to distance yourself from the noise, you will reach that place where where the technology takes you into the proper intelligence place where they talk about intelligence, it will put you there.
Like, think about this, right? On my phone, it told me that my storage was full. So I went into my app, right? I went into Instagram, and it said Instagram was only taking up so many millibytes, but it said the data, right, stored data was taking up gigabytes.
Oh,
So
there you
if
go.
thoughts are things, right?
Yes.
Where do thoughts go when we transition? Because you the act, you the physical being, there's only so many millibytes, but then you got all of this extra weight that you carrying around with you, these thoughts, you feel me? They govern your being, but they're not really, you know, they didn't come with you and they're not going with you, but where do they go?
How you go? Good question. Because each thought has an agenda that you've given to it. Each thought has a purpose. Each thought has a program that you've assigned it. And with that programming, you keep instigating it, you keep feeding it, you keep, what is that thing? Adding more RAMs by your attention. You keep raising the headroom so that you can actually build more on it. You could add more crap to it. When you no longer are adding any information to it, it then becomes part of the consciousness stream again. You do not localize it. You do not specialize that energy. The specialization is no longer there, and then it just dissipates back into energy again.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So the concept of the universe being thought, or the concept of what they
Mind.
call God,
Right.
mind being
Mm-hmm.
negative space, and
Mm-hmm.
when God, when the supreme being emanated a thought that they call a thought,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
man is addicted to thoughts.
Yes.
And really, I'm
Yeah,
not
I'm gonna walk.
just, but
You jump to that. Walk thought into thoth.
it's
Thought. Thought. Yeah. Not thought.
and then thought is thought.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if the universe was created from a negative space, and then you had the
Mm-hmm.
black dot appear,
Mm-hmm.
and the dot would be the universe or the Most High wanting to experience itself, and then it creates another dot,
Yeah.
and then the communication between the two creates what is known as consciousness.
Reflection of itself.
Huh?
Reflection of itself. In other words,
Of itself. Where they say reflection.
mm-hmm. Indeed.
Because in order for consciousness to even exist, that's two dots looking at one another, emanating thoughts towards each other.
Yeah, and you remember what it's saying. If you remember what it was saying, that in the Bible, which they took in the beginnings from the book of Coming Forth by Day, you have to understand that in the Bible it says, and what's his name was on the face of the waters, or the face of the deep. What we're speaking about at that point is the creation of time and the creation of space as we know it. And darkness was upon it, and something, and the face of God moved upon the waters of the deep.
Yes.
Well, that was essentially the movement of intention, because all is intention. Creation is intention, and that intention is the fulfillment of all possible experiences within the infinite and eternal universe. And that's where we come in. We fit in by activating that potential, by being that potential. And a lot of people, if you listen, a good brother who was a pastor, was on Sarnetta's program, and the brother couldn't think abstractly. And it's a shame that we have our preachers who are locked down in the dead letter of the word. Yes, silence is golden after all, beloved. And what is happening is that he's taken everything literally in the Bible, when you're supposed to take it as a story that is speaking about the interplay of forces, the interplay of mind with itself, the understanding and overstanding of the Creator seeking itself in different expressions of itself as it collapsed upon itself. See, to understand and overstand that, you have to take yourself out of the kindergarten level of being talking the nonsense that the Bible is telling you, and to get past the child version of it and understand the broader ramifications as you grow in spirituality. So,
We call it getting out the basement.
indeed,
You know,
of the trap that words put you in, you know, indeed, allegorical instead of literal. Very good. So you understand that everything is allegory. Everything that we're doing is allegorical. The very existence of third density is an allegory because everything can be anything we wish it to be. We are the ones that define our reality. This is why the European wants to put a barcode on every form of life in existence, because once you've named it, you own it. And
right.
that's why when you tell me that my God's name is Jesus or Yahweh or Allah, you own that name. You've copywritten that name. In fact, when you conquer a people, the first thing you change in their mind is the name of their God.
That's facts.
When you change the name of their God, you have empowered yourself, because now they're speaking what came out of your consciousness, your reality, and you've emboldened and you have empowered them. People don't understand it all.
It's
That's why
really
we're in a word war.
conscious colonization.
Yes, that's why we're in a word war. And word war, we've lost the word war so far because we're still following the European man's version as well as the Neo-Neanderthals version of reality. The Neo-Neanderthal being the so-called uh, Ashkenazi Jew, and the so-called European, or what I call Levantian Arab, not the original. These people are the Neo-Neanderthals of the Levant. They're the ones who've taken the consciousness, taken what Akhenaten was supposedly doing when he created Armana, and it had to be destroyed because he took over all of the different houses and the different temples, which were political stations. And the so-called priests of Malawi became the Levites of the Bible, and they're the ones who supposedly dealt with the 12 tribes of Israel, and they were the ones that were supposed to oversee and be the ones to guide the 12 tribes. But most people don't understand. Most people don't understand that they're taking us and they're formulated through their own very, twisted way. They've taken everything that belongs to us and given us a secondhand version for us to have a disempowered name. What the hell is a Jesus? Jesus came from Hessus. What is the Christ? The Christ came from Krishna. They're giving us disempowered names to tell us to power ourselves up. Go get to Jesus. You need Jesus. No, I don't need no damn Jesus. I don't need somebody else's name for their reality. From their reality, all I'm doing is adopting his reality. If you can't define the God inside of you, if you cannot understand and understand how the Creator speaks to you, and you think that you could find the Creator by just reading. Now, the Bible has some exceptional lessons because they stole it from us. If you cannot find a creator in silence, you'll never find it in the noise that they give you in church. All you are doing is stomping. You say, well, sir, I'm using, you say, oh, it's an African thing. We find the spirit. Yeah, but what are you finding the spirit from? Is it coming from an organic source? Is it coming from the time you were practicing voodoo or voodoo? You dealing with condomblai? Are you dealing with your own spirituality? Are you calling God upon the name that was given to you by your people because the terrain that they developed their consciousness in, the terrain that built the civilization that they had, the name was given to them by the spirit of the place they settled. Nature speaks back to the people. Nature, the mother, tells you the name of God.
Facts.
And so the people, that's why it was so, this thing when they showed you roots, that they had to change his name from Kunta Kinte to Toby.
That's why the badge of religion is so detrimental on a lot of people, because it was transferred to them through their mother. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed, the mother is the first teacher.
You always hear them, even at the age of 30, 40, or 50, when they're going through religion detox, they be like, but I got this from my mama, and this is my connection to her. It's almost like their ethereal umbilical cord that connects them to her love, life, legacy. You know what I'm saying? And when they cut that cord, it's almost like they're cutting off mama.
Like,
Yeah.
mom, yeah.
Yeah, it's and you know, we have a love for our mothers, but our mothers have been deceived. You have to understand they were the keepers. That's why you see Isis or Ast sitting there on the cards where you look at the so-called when they call them the tarot cards. You see
Tarot.
the Empress, she's sitting there. She has a book. She has a book here, the book of life, right? And she has a veil. And she says, none have lifted my veil. But none who are worthy, who are not worthy, can lift my veil. Because only through me can you come to the Father. They took those words from the mother and gave them to their Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Another man. That's where that homosexuality comes in.
Flipped
They
it.
give it to another. You cannot come to the Father except through me. They took that directly from out of the mouth of the mother, which is the actual, the materialized aspect of the Creator. Remember, the mother is always with everything in matter, anything that condenses into shape and substance that has access to our senses is feminine. The force that gives her the life is masculine. We are the activating, she is the perfecting. And see that, and we don't see that anymore because she wants to be the activator now. They've taught her that she has to go out and do everything that the man does, not realizing she's disempowered herself on the reality where it comes down to the fulfillment of herself as a woman. The same way with men. I've talked to people who've come to me, and this is, I mean, I know I'm gonna hear it, but they're homosexuals, and they say that they know that there's something that's wrong with it. And I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to say. I'm telling you what it is that I've over the years had homosexuals come to me and say, "Is this something I need to cure?" I says, "No, it's something you have to come into the realization of, and understand and overstand of. You are vibrating on a discordant energy pattern that you've been given. It can be changed, but you have to change the mind first so that the body follows. Remember, matter follows mind.
Fine. Fact.
So you have to understand that there's something going on that even in the womb, you see, homosexuality to me is a kind of it's a birth defect if it does come from in there. Because if you look at Fitz Springmeier, have you ever heard of Fitz Springmeier? When he speaks about the Illuminati, he has in that folio, yeah, they had him locked up. In that folio, he was showing you in his folio how they create homosexuals, how it's created in the womb. And so there is a specific disease, like there's a particular kind of disease where you're born deformed, for instance. If you're born with one leg, if you're born with no eyes, if you're born, you've seen these types of deformities. They don't see homosexuality as part of that. I do. I see homosexuality as a congenital disease coming from the womb. It can come from outside the womb too, because if it starts in the womb, it can be supported by the way the society actually supports that, nurtures that particular thing from the time of children. You want to cut off the penis of young boys today.
If you're saying that, you know, I mean, and it's not just you saying it, but we know that we live in a fishbowl, right? We live in a world that's surrounded, it's an open air ocean. And if that environment has been over chemicalized, then just brief fluctuations on a woman's biochemistry is going to change the conditions of the womb. And then the outer environment is always going to support it because we live in a toxic fishbowl. It's not just we live in a fishbowl. We live in a fishbowl that's constantly being bombarded by radiation that, as you're saying, is being trapped in the dome. So it's not escaping the dome, is it? It's refracting on itself.
It's all coming back on itself. Yeah, it feeds itself. It feeds upon itself. And that's why we're here. All we need is 10% to neutralize. 10% of people thinking contradictory to that, and it becomes neutralized. Right now, just like any other disease, remember, if you're dealing from a naturopathic perspective, disease must come to the surface to heal. You cannot keep suppressing it. So the disease that is inherent within the consciousness of humanity today, all those necessary to bring it to the surface, even though we dislike those people in the deep state, the ones who are the feminized, all of these people that's working to destroy what we are. That's good. They're coming to the surface. We see them now. They were working in the shadows. We knew they were there, but we did not know how to convince the people that they were there. They're here now. We can show you that these are the people that's doing what they're doing now. And so now here's your task. What are you going to do with the information? Not only the information that we're talking about now, but the ones that we were doing for the last 40 years. Because the next generation of brothers and sisters, I'm hearing constantly, I want to, 18-year-old young people in high school graduating, I'm feeling like I want to know more about myself, this consciousness. And 18 and 17, back when I started, when you all started, young brothers and sisters want to know more. And I think that's fabulous. And brothers like Dot, yourselves, AA, and Rich, and all of you all are going to be the next ones to marshal these young brothers and sisters into a whole new paradigm.
I mean,
You all have a hell of a responsibility that the elders have left for you.
Baba, you planted a pill, or seed, should I say, in 2000, it was 2000, 2001 when I was attending the lectures. And, I recently found out Black Dot goes back more years than that.
Even further, yeah.
Lectures, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And you used to always say in those lectures, and it resonated with us, I want more youth to be, because I used to tell people the stories. I was the only one under the age of 40 in the classroom at the time.
Yeah.
And the one that was interacting with you the most. I'm like,
right.
The elders don't have the information, or they're not into it. So, things have changed. We're 20 years advanced from that particular point in time. And
indeed,
the entire, face of consciousness looks different because, like you said, it's mainly now youth driven. And because of Black Dot, bringing that magnum opus, the hip hop coded book into the mix and giving us a new, through which we can look at hip hop and see how we interact and interface with the people that come under that banner. It has really, picked, even to the point where the rappers is conscious.
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
And the people who we was initially utilizing to talk about degradation and the downfall of humanity.
Right.
They teach us that.
Yeah. Well, but you see that's the progression. That's the progression that we can actually sit back and watch happen.
Your lens and your perspective and your purview, you know what I'm saying? How do you see, this thing that has been created? You know what I'm saying? How does it make you feel as an elder?
It gives me hope. It makes me feel that, and I don't like to live on hope. I'd rather be proactive to make sure that results are taking place. But when you get to my age now, I'm going into my 70th year. I'm in my 70th year right now, and I see that I can look at the change happening. If you're here long enough, you can sense the change. Right. You can see it happening. And it makes me feel good because I speak with my wife in the evening after we're kind of wrapping up our day. And from her perspective, who she's dealing with, we start seeing people now searching because there's nothing else. When the religions no longer give them the satisfaction, when their clubs and their Bibles and their different how-to books are not giving them the fulfillment that they need. You see, I myself are looking at a kind of a backlash of people that are angry with the elders who taught them in the old churches, because here's the funny part: young people who were ministers are my students now. And it was like I had to talk about a great escape, and the fact that they actually had to get away from it, and that now their family no longer wants to be around them. They no longer want to interface with that mentality, because time they asked a question, they were knocked down. If you didn't believe, you didn't have faith. If you didn't have faith, you could not be saved. You could not be saved, you would not be washed in the blood. And all of these different rituals.
Yeah.
You see? So what can I tell you? I'm very happy with what I'm seeing because of the young people are the ones that are searching. I want to be around long enough to be able to help them to see another way. That young preacher that was actually speaking to me, who got so frustrated and tried to denigrate me in such a way, not realizing that he was just, kind of stomping on his own feet. I want to speak to those young people so that they could think and expand with that thought process outside of the box that they've been locked into by the words that they've been given and what they've been made to feel is their only way. This most for these people who are like that are speaking from desperation. They
Can I?
speak from a desperation of ignorance. Yes, sir.
That young man who you mentioned, I'm not sure who that person is, but the way that this movie has been playing out, we're gonna look for him in 5 years because
Mm-hmm.
the minute y'all came into contact, going back to what I was saying about the aspect of the two black dots,
Mm-hmm.
and what consciousness is. Now, you planted a seed. You understand that seed might not have grown that day, but a
Right.
seed was planted because he came into contact with your consciousness and he was fighting it. His spirit was fighting
Yeah.
it. He was negative towards you and whatnot. But
Yeah.
that aspect of fighting it was a telltale sign that he was receiving and
Mm.
fighting the reception of the light. Now we're going to see his life begin to take a different path as a result of that contact. I promise.
Ah.
I've seen it so many times. I
Mm.
know that it's an applicable.
It's called phase conjugation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
conjugation. He's speaking.
Phase conjugation. When you come into contact with lower vibrational frequencies,
Yes.
you have a higher vibrational frequency. You're going to take that frequency over eventually and change the wave pattern. So in 5 years, like you said, we'll be able to go back and look, and see, what I'm saying, how that conjugation has actually materialized itself.
Yeah. Will come to another understanding and understanding of himself first
Oh, sure.
and see the
And
limitations.
you out, he'll apologize. He'll speak of the errors in his ways. I was just on a phone call with a student of Taj Tariq Bey, one of his students. And for the sister, the elder, mind you, pardon me because I'm forgetting her name at the moment. She was an ordained minister, right, in the Delaware territory. She had an out-of-body experience at the pew. She went to visit another church and she had an out-of-body experience and went up and basically, well, when she had that out-of-body experience, she said that she was sitting in the pews waiting to be called, and her spirit left her body.
Yeah.
She knew that she was not in her body, and whatever light that she was communicating with was telling her that she had to basically get back into the truth and stop telling these lies. She agreed in that state that she was going to do that. And then she said she woke up. She went to the podium and she spoke her truth, right? She was not in her church. She said 3 weeks later, she went from a congregation of hundreds to 5. She was called a witch. She was called the devil.
Yep.
She was called all of these negative, all the, they got the they have the biblical
shame, the biblical shaman. She was
they got the biblical shame book, you know what I mean? They got all these names.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah. Well, I don't doubt it. Most of the people that have come to seek
I'm
out.
sorry, here's her name. Her name is Dr. Nalaya Gilliam, right? She has a radio show. She has a movement and everything. She was in the church, like knee deep. And she said that the truth woke her up. It put her on a path, and on that path is where she was introduced to our good brother, master teacher Taj Tariq Bey, and she's been by his side ever since, doing the good work and whatnot. So I'm just bringing that out to say that there's so many stories that are out there.
Indeed.
There's
Indeed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? I mean, this is like I said, over the years, there's been a steady flow of people leaving the church because they see that there is a restriction in their thinking. You're not supposed to question anything outside of the box. But you see, once you start questioning secondhand information, all secondhand information, once adopted, becomes belief. Okay? What you have to understand is that secondhand information is not firsthand empirical data. They're not empirical. There's no empirical information that you're living on. You're
Hmm.
not living on empirical experiences. You're living on vicarious experiences, and you are nurturing that vicarious experience as a firsthand experience once you go into a stomp down, so called catching the spirit. You are doing that to yourself. So understand and understand that anytime you estrange yourself from the limitations of religion, religio, which means to relegate one's thinking, once you essentially estrange yourself or break through the barrier that that particular word war, that particular arsenal of words that are used to battle against your own consciousness, you now have broken out. You take a whole new interpretation to the Bible. It no longer becomes this divine work, it becomes a book of science. It becomes a way for you to interpret what the words are, what the meaning is. And you take that interpretation to be yourself, not what the preacher tells you it means, not what the Vatican tells you it means, not what the side of the concordance tells you it means. What it means to you is based upon how you are dealing with your reality and your relationship with the creator that is unnameable. You cannot name the creator because if you name the creator, you have limited it to your own limited consciousness. Therefore, you've limited the power. You've limited that energy that is supposed to feed you from an unknown source. The reality of coming into your knowing is from the unknown. You now project it as the known. You live the known from the unknown. You embody the unknown, and you are now finding it. Remember, I told my students there are different stages to consciousness, especially in the physical form. There is, first of all, information, because this is what we're giving to everyone. Information. Information is static, it's dead. It serves no purpose other than the fact that you're actually participating in the exchange of it. Information, proactive action, becomes knowledge. So when you take information and you begin to activate that information and to get the feedback from application, now you got knowledge. Knowledge over a period of time becomes refined by you keep applying it, and that's what turns into wisdom. So you come to the first three stages. Information, static. Information activated is knowledge. The feedback then becomes knowledge. The
Mm.
knowledge is refined over years and years. You get rid of this, you add this, you take it, and then as you grow older, it becomes the truth in you. Everything has to fit the reality first before it becomes truth. You cannot fit truth into reality. Reality must fit into truth because truth essentially is the reality once it's been activated, once you've gotten the feedback from the application of reality. That's when you see a truth. Now, when you exercise the truth and you refine it, you shine it, and then you give that gift to someone else, that is when you see your wisdom. When you deal with wisdom and you refine your wisdom, you keep learning. That's what the master teachers are. They are students at heart, continuous students. If you stop, that means you become a cult leader. Okay?
Mhm.
So you're not, a master teacher is a student, remains a student of creator. And then once you understand and surrender to that, that's when you achieve the fifth stage, which is fifth dimension, which is enlightenment. So information is static, it's dead. Information activated becomes knowledge. Knowledge refined becomes wisdom. Wisdom refined, and it's all of its propensities and so forth becomes the active principle of doing, the principle where you begin to see the works. Your thoughts no longer are occupied by other visceral nonsense that has nothing to do with what your mission is, and that's to come to the place of enlightenment.
Oh.
Oh, somebody, who's that? Somebody.
That's a Genesis. Shout out to a Genesis, one of our luminaries.
Beautiful.
Coming up.
Truth applied, there it is. You talk about sexual vampirism. Relationship to opening up portals of high instinct. Oh, yeah, if your sex is about.
Hold on.
Okay.
I just want to add on, please, my good brother, can you get into the sexual vampirism stuff, especially via the internet, this new medium where this artificial intelligence medium where people are making love to their phones, to robots, to devices, to all of these things. So yes.
For their thoughts.
Interesting. Well, sexual energy is creative energy. You have to understand that creative energy can be used to either bring another body or another avatar into this plane, or it can bring higher consciousness and higher revelatory consciousness to you. And I'm not just talking about consciousness, because everything is conscious. Everything is in nature is conscious. Even the rocks are conscious. What I'm saying is revelatory consciousness. There's a difference. There's different degrees. You cannot partition consciousness. Consciousness simply is. There is no this is conscious, that you are developing in degrees within consciousness. There is no qualifying or taking a piece of consciousness and making it into something. Consciousness is the presence of Creator. You cannot take the presence of Creator and qualify it into and say this is consciousness. You are simply participating in the presence of the Creator, and that's consciousness. So when you are dealing with consciousness, you're dealing with what I call a partitioning or qualification of consciousness through sexuality. You are qualifying consciousness through a revelatory perspective. So there are certain positions that they call the Kama Sutra and so forth, that when two people are joined together, they can either blow it off by thinking about how good it feels and just absorbing themselves into that energy, or they can become conscious of the energy that they're activating, especially through the female. The female can feed the male during that time because she has an endless flow of specific things that she creates from her blood that the man can feed on if he understands a specific breathing technique that begins to draw the materials of the womb during excitation up into his penis. And it begins to activate or to help his kundalini raise a whole other form of sperm from out of, and you got to remember, sperm is created from the spinal column. There is a specific material in the spinal column that is completely separate from the blood. It is that material in the spinal column that creates the sperm, that goes into making the sperm. In fact, if you get healthy sperm, it's supposed to glow in the dark.
Without the black light?
Without the black light. It's supposed to glow. The potassium ions in healthy sperm will see, like, you ever seen the tape that they have that they can put down in the dark, and you can see like a green kind of thing. If it's all black, you see it begin to reflect. Well, yeah, that's how sperm is supposed to look when you turn the lights out in healthy. But right now, brothers are over there spending it off and doing all kind of nonsense. All they're doing is shooting dog water.
So that's what they call super sperm. That's what the
That's what the yogis had. That's what the elders had. The elders had.
Man. On one of the things, I swear.
Right now is that's how they creating Toxic Avengers. They got radiation in their joints.
Oh no, no.
For wrong reasons. Like,
No. What's happening is what's happening today is the drawing off of creative energy.
Okay.
You know, you ever seen you know, sometimes when you're having so much sex, you don't really see any of the white sperm, you just see dog water.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a man who's losing his mind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a way. I mean, if you remember some of the things I did something called I forgot what it was called. It was an old one I did on sexuality, sexual. Maybe one of your people out there remember what I did on it. But I've done so much work. I got over 300 videos. Yeah,
It's
and
a women together.
yeah, what happened? You got to remember too that when the stalk, when the sperm essentially once feeds that cerebrospinal fluid, and you can raise that. That's what you need to raise your kundalini as a man. And you shooting off that sperm, you're losing. That's why you got to sleep when you got. I mean, if you after you bust out a serious, what do you call it? What happens? First thing you start getting tired, you want to eat something and go right to sleep. Why? Because you done took all of your brain power, the brain energy, the thing that feeds your brain cells, just shut it out for nothing. And of course, the female is not really using it. The female is not really using it to do the primary thing, which is to actually conceive a child. Okay. What is supposed to happen at that time is that there's a thing called karitsa, or if you're dealing with the sexual energies, you're supposed to be able to take the sperm, and the female makes your sperm charged even more. And you have what is known as an internal orgasm. The internal orgasm is more powerful because by the time you finish and when you get up, you feel stronger. You feel like you can go ahead and brick through a wall. You can put your head through a wall. But today, you give that power away. She now takes it and she's using it. That's why she's bouncing around. And you over there, you waking up kind of like, oh man,
yeah.
what a night. She's waking up and going like, you good girl, you know, why?
Yeah,
because she's feeding on you.
I used to
She's feeding on your energy.
Ejaculation techniques.
Yeah.
And
It's all in the breath.
Yeah, the microcosmic orbit, you know,
yeah,
it charged you up. But
Mhm.
you know, listening to some of the information that you shared, the female would get like very pissed off. Like,
Yes.
the whole experience for them is they wanted to see.
You want to know why?
To bathe in it or do whatever they wanted to.
No, hey, listen.
They didn't even consider the whole action to
the Hindu women, brothers. The Hindu women used to use the sperm for facials. They used to use it as a tonic.
Hey, they wanted the face.
They want that. That hey, listen. Frustration sometimes when you don't give it, it's like, wait a minute, what happened? Why are you not? What's wrong with you?
That was a deal breaker. I lost a relationship because of that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain the science of it. And they was like, no, we didn't even do nothing if they didn't see.
No. See, what you have to do, want to see you satisfied but weak. See, when a woman wants to see, you are the epitome of strength in a woman. A woman sees your strength. When she makes you weak, she's conquered. But when you hold on to your strength, that becomes a threat. But it becomes a threat only to women who want to be in competition with you in the bed. If you go in both as two people who understand what that power is, and you work that power as people seeking power, to give power, the woman, by her very action with you and by you with your sustaining, making her orgasm 6 and 7 times, what she's doing, Lord, I need a facial. Behave yourself, Miss Tracy, please.
Lord God.
That's cute. Yeah, okay. So what you're doing is she's empowering you, and the ecstasy she's feeling, that's the time when she's supposed to be doing magic. If you and she are together, I mean really closely together, when she's in an orgasmic state, that's when you can program her thoughts to bring about your thoughts. She goes into ecstasy. You ever see it when, especially when if she's in a good position, like when she's straddling. When she's straddling, she's working it. She's hitting all the corners she can. But when she starts going off, that head, you ever notice the head goes to the back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's when that Kundalini, the first shot of Kundalini goes up because it's getting ready to pop. When her head flows to the back, that's the time when she is now ready because she is now opened up that portal.
It's in alignment.
Looking up, and she's now getting ready to give off that energy. That first eye is about to shoot out. And what you do is have her pre-programmed with what the two of you all want to see happen for both of you all.
Right.
And now you're using sexual magic.
What about
creative?
What about when her head spins?
Well, see, you say then you having sex with Reagan from The Exorcist. And then you need to leave that woman alone.
Did you ever read this book?
Yeah, that's an old one. That the way of the that reminds me of the title that I was going to use, the path of the virtuous man.
Yes. This has a technique on, of course, how to basically tap in. This is in here.
Good.
Deals with putting the tongue on top of the
pushing it up against the roof.
Yeah,
exactly.
Against the roof.
Right. And breathing and inhaling. Also, let me just show you. Take down my name from there so I can show the people. There is a part of the ribs, like the 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a part to the chest, about the 4th rib up. There is the thymus gland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now there's a part there where you tap that. They call it a thymus tap. It swells up. Okay, because when you grow, when in a baby and young people, the thymus is huge.
Yeah.
When we grow older, it shrinks, which is where we start getting people who have depression and so forth. They essentially are having a problem with a shrunken thymus gland. Also, what you need to do as well is the breathing technique can cool you down with your tongue. Mm-hmm. You can create what's called the crane beak. That causes air to come in faster. But now, if you got yourself a clean woman and you have problems with premature ejaculation, when I used to teach the sexual sciences, there is something called soma that the Tibetans used to use. It was a specific herb from a flower that you used to take that helped you to sustain yourself. But they found out that the sexual juices of a woman has the same effect. So, yes, soma. When you go down there and you partake of a clean woman,
yeah,
and you start going into the brewery and you start going into the magic cauldron, and she is clean woman, Aito. She's, getting her vegetation, and she does it. She's only bleeding once or twice a month and so forth. Her energy is clean. You go there, that's the crane beak. Yes, very good.
Yeah.
So when you start going into, we call it the crow's beak. But then when you go down there and you start, partaking of those juices, it will stop you from feeling like you need to ejaculate.
Mm-hmm.
You know that?
Okay.
The juices of the female will stop you, the smell, and if it's a good smell, don't go down there if it's the you're going down to the fish market, or you're going down there and things are a little bit too ripe for you. Make sure that your woman is clean, because if she is, then she has a magic potion that can stop you from premature ejaculation.
Right. They said it's the nectar of the gods.
Yes, it is.
It is the nectar of the gods.
Yeah.
It is the. Okay. Well, that was a lesson that I'm sure that many brothers and sisters can benefit from, because we know, that that is a cornerstone of our existence.
Mm-hmm. Expect the movie to be coming In Search of Soma.
Yeah, you know what? It's so interesting. You know, your initial question. I don't know if we've touched upon it. This going into this for chat in order to deal with sex. That's you giving in to exactly what it is the European and his lack of ability to have that relationship one to one, to have the kind of surrender necessary for the woman. She no longer wants to surrender. She wants to dominate. A woman who wants to dominate can never be a good sexual partner. She will never ever understand what it is that brings her the true ecstasy. She will consistently try to dominate, and if she's like that in her real life, she'll be like that in bed. Very few women understand what it is that gives her the power. Surrender gives her the power. You understand? We essentially don't understand that type of surrendering. We as men don't understand that type of surrender. We don't understand us overstanding that what we have to do is to not surrender to our urge. Women must surrender to theirs. Understand what I'm saying about? If we surrender to our urge, we come too fast.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have control. So we cannot succumb to our urges because we start hot and then cold.
Right.
A woman starts cold, he ends hot. So how do you meet that middle ground? You must understand that you cannot surrender. You have to dominate not only your feelings, but to control the situation. She must surrender completely. She must be ready to and willing. If you are a master, you know what you're doing. Woman is like what? An instrument? She's a musical instrument, you know? And the problem is a lot of them have stooped to just dealing with tools. And the tools, like them hard ass dildos that these women are using, these things will stimulate the clitoris. Your penis can, go ahead, girl, go ahead and be dominated, of course. What you don't have a problem with it, a problem is if sisters are using these hard plastics and using these dildos that are like 90 feet tall and they're sitting on these things that are banging away at their you don't understand. You're desensitizing yourself to the male touch.
Right.
Understand that the more stimulation you give to your clitoris, which is a male, which is the vestigial organ left over from the fall of humanity, prepuce, which our ancestors cut off because it was actually extension of the vulva to the penis, just like the extension of the penis into the vagina is the clitoris. The more she uses that, the intense her orgasms, and the less susceptible she is to true touches of the male.
Right. So, do you think in the metaphysical sense, because we talk metaphysics, and we speak about the power of the woman and the fact that aspects of reality come forward through her being a woman, is the introduction and her overutilization of mechanical devices, is that aiding and assisting to transhumanism and the cyborg agenda?
It's more and more desensitizing who she really is. A woman has at least 100 times more nerves because of who she's supposed to be as a mother. Her skin has a magnetic energy that can actually give her feelings of her environment. She picks up energy. That's the mother wit. Her ability to feel cold, for example. You ever notice how women tend to get cold faster than us?
Facts.
That's because her lungs are smaller than ours. She doesn't take in as much air as us, and therefore she cannot convert heat as fast as we can, as well as hold it. She's not as dense as we are. So immediately she gets cold faster. So you have to understand and understand. Well, understand that that too is a sensitivity to the environment on a consciousness level. And she can actually feel certain circumstances. The reason for that is because she's supposed to be able to take care of babies who can't speak and tell you what's going on. She knows, by the way, that the baby cries, the way the baby has a specific way of arguing. She knows exactly what it is. And that part of her is being killed off by feminism. It's being killed off by her going off and just having sex with 10, 20 dudes. I mean, yeah, we like that, because in the first stages, but she's ruining herself for later on. She's killing off her ability to be sensitized. That's why certain women today have no feelings for the opposite sex, or they never have any feelings for anybody anymore, because they have taken that sensitivity that is supposed to enhance the feminine principle, and they're wasting it in a lot of these masculine things that desensitize them. Oh, sure. There she is, receptivity, of course, Akash. What we don't understand is that the feminine principle is a very receptive. It is open. It is so open to energies that she is now so quickly and so rapidly losing that sense of touch that now the people who control her that way are teaching her to hate to be, because submission, especially to today's woman, is a form of disempowerment. When a good woman finds a man, and a man is working towards becoming that person who is a provider and protector, because a man is judged on his worth based upon his ability to gain financial power and his resources. A woman is looking for resources when she's looking for a man. She's looking to see if he can actually acquire the resources she needs, protect her, feed her, and give her those resources. Today, since men see that women don't need that type of protection anymore, they don't care about being that for them. And women today have bought into that feminization, that you're independent, you don't need a man, I can do it by myself. And as they go into the later stages, after 25, 30, you're into 35, they find that, wait a minute, they don't have children, or if they do have children, they don't have the man that goes with the children, because they've been told that they can expend their sexual energies from the time they're 18 all the way up into 25 and 30, then they can look to settle down. But let me ask you a question.
Oh, it's younger than that, Doc.
You're kidding. Oh, well, see, I'm out of page right now. See, again, what I'm saying is, that's why I'm asked the question. If I have a car that's on the lot and I take that car out, before I sell it, I'm driving all over the place, and man, and then for next year, 2 years, I'm driving it, I'm taking it on the road. I don't hit up the mileage all the way up to 55,000. I put it up there on the lot again, and then saying, okay, I want the original price for that. Are you going to actually pay the original price for that car? No. Well, sisters don't understand that because they are wasting their whole sexual energies during that year when it's all about partying and going out and looking for that man and having that sexual encounters, and saying, the girls are saying, because girls, women, they're looking beautiful, and they can show you they keep giving you these pictures of themselves, and look at me, and here's my ass, look at that, and look at me, I'm going to squeeze these tits together, I'm going to take this picture for you. And what they don't understand, what they do not understand is that those goods are that's their treasure. Remember what Muhammad Ali told his daughter when she was going out there with that super mini skirt? Remember what Muhammad Ali told her? Instead of being angry with her, he says, you know something? Made the most precious things and hid it. Most of every precious thing that the earth has is hidden.
How about that?
Diamonds, they're hidden. But today,
Audible, Doc. That's tomorrow's post.
and there's nothing more alluring to a man than a modest woman. And women really think that because of their freedom that they could do this. And of course, all the men, they don't care, because we're voyeurs by nature. We like looking at big asses and big tits. We like looking at that.
Yes, we
We
do.
love looking at it. We love to see that ass walking down the street. We love to see those tits bouncing. We love to see them dancing with. Oh yeah, we love. But you see,
Yeah.
I said
yeah,
it, my theory is that we love ovals,
yes,
sacred
dude,
geometry.
yes.
That's
That's
some.
why the curves just get us crazy. But in the long run, after we've seen that and we done hunted on the Serengeti plain for the longest period, we go back to look for that modest woman. We go back to look for that woman that is wife material. You know, there's party material and then there's wifey. Who do you want for wifey? Do you want wifey to be that woman that you see out there with with the crotch and you can see the hair sticking out of there? Today I notice when I go shopping in the supermarket with my wife,
Oh,
I
Lord.
see these women walking around the supermarket in leotards.
Oh yeah, that's a new
Remember
thing.
what leotards? Remember what leotards? Do you remember what not leotards? Do you remember what?
Yoga pants.
No, pantyhose.
Hey,
That's what they
yeah.
are. They're nothing more than pantyhose because I could see every crevice, every crease. I could see the camel toe. I could see the cleft up their asses. They're walking around in their underwear.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doc. I see. We need to stay in contact more because the new thing is to get action at Walmart in the supermarket. That's part of the
Really?
hot summer agenda. Facts. Yeah.
Oh my
Go down
God.
to Walmart.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And it's funny because now I know in New York, in Central Park and different park areas, women can walk around like they in the African, in the village now. They can walk around with the topless. The
Yeah.
law has it now. So right now, the mystery that the woman, and the thing is, feminism just put women out there for judgment. Women had a secret society. They used to rule behind the scenes, used
Mm.
to use manipulation. They used their intelligence to make sure men did what they wanted. They used to know how to work your nerves to get what they wanted. Today, they forgot as feminists that men are problem solvers. We solve problems. You have become a problem. We have learned to solve you, sisters. And now, essentially, it's worked against you because all of the secrets that my mother, listen, my grandmother, God rest her soul, she had 15 children. 15 children.
Mhm.
And the women every Sunday, my father was the patriarch. My grandfather was the patriarch. He was one of the first lawyers in Trinidad. He even ran for the prime ministership, and they tried to assassinate him, but that's a whole nother story.
Mm.
My grandmother used to have, after Sunday's meal, she used to gather the girls, okay, and have man management lessons.
Wow.
Did you hear what I said?
Wow.
Man management lessons.
Because she
And
knew
my
the secret.
aunts, yes, my aunts were taught what it is to maintain a home and what it is that you need to learn. First, you need how to learn to cook. You had to learn how to keep a house. That was just fundamental. But guess what? They were all educated, college educated, but they didn't go out there to try to do anything outside of the home. Everything was brought into the home, and they were mothers first. My grandfather had 2 and 3 jobs. They also understood that they had 2 and 3 jobs. Take care of the children, take care of the home, cook the meals, make sure everything is cool. They forget that particular part of it. We bring the house, we bring the materials to build the house. They make it the home. You don't have that anymore. If you are not going to come together as a partnership in what we call marriage, not the marriage that they have that certificate. Women want that contract with the goddamn state. That's because they're in control of that. What you have to do is to put together a compact of love. And if you don't understand what that means, it means that there are concessions. If women coming in and want to demand how a relationship should go, you've lost immediately. If the man is not in charge, you've lost. That's just going to last maybe about 6 months, maybe a year. Before you know it, Splitsville. You have to understand we've lost that science, the science of companionship, the science of understanding that it's work when you come together. Now, of course, you go to sexual fireworks, you get that boom, but then what happens after that? You got to settle in to work at what marriage is because everything looks familiar. After a while, it's the sermon. Oh, you know, well, I know your trigger points. And this is what we gonna do. Well, I'm working over here. I ain't got no time. I'm tired when I get home. The honeymoon is over.
Mhm.
But the women today, with their newfound freedom, they want to keep that honeymoon energy going. All these outside, listen, brothers think it's. Let me tell you something. Women get more men and more sex than men. And if you don't believe that, fool. Women can always get sex anytime they want. Men, we have to work for it. You think that your woman is waiting around for you and that she is there because there's something that you are providing. That's the real world when it comes to the woman.
I'll be right back. I got to call my lady. Right? Got a brother nervous.
You listen, a woman, like I said, a woman can have 6 and 7, 8. She can have 6 or 7 or 8 men and come home and you wouldn't know it. You want to know why? All she has to do is take a little bit of allium powder,
Yeah.
okay, with lemons. Stir that up in the douche, and that bad boy will tighten up like she was a virgin. You wouldn't know a goddamn thing. That's where that thing came from. Mama's baby, daddy's mate. Why is it that over 13 million men today, all right, are dealing with parasitic parenting? Understand what I'm talking about. Parasitic parenting is you don't know that's your baby, if that's your real baby, that you raising a child that don't belong to you.
Mm. You call
That's
that
now
parasitic?
13. You hear what I just said? 13 million men. And guess what? The doctors are down with it. Suppose you have an accident and you need to give blood. So, for instance, your child has an accident, you need to give blood. When they test your blood and it isn't hooked up with the child, they'll say, well, there's something's wrong with your blood, but it won't tell you that that child is not yours. They're duty bound not to tell you that the child is not yours. The doctors, the
Unless
law
you
in place
DNA test.
that states that your blood, if your blood doesn't match your child, they can't tell you that. The woman is the one that keeps that secret. Have 13 million children, 13 million men raising children that ain't belong to them.
Damn.
So understand what I'm saying to you. The woman, this whole society has been put into their hands. You cannot not think about it. That's why marriage is not the thing anymore. Men don't want to get married. Why? Because it's suicide. It's commercial suicide. It's a personal suicide. They can take your house. They can take anything. And the women who are now judges are doing just that. Understand? You got to make sure that if you're going to go and get married, women today, y'all got to step off of that particular mentality that you got. See, the thing is, by the time you get smart about how stupid you've been, from the time you've been 18 years of age all the way through your 25th, and you ain't did the right thing yet because you're looking for a career and you're doing all these things that are circumventing the time when you're your most fertile. It's funny, but women start getting real smart after 25, 30, 35, and they begin to see exactly the mistakes they've been making when they were younger. Some of them come to me and tell me, I gave up so many men that could have been my husband, so many good men, because they want that thug energy, especially when they're younger. They want to deal with the man that looks like he could take care of himself. They don't understand that a man takes longer. Who you think is superior? Think about this too. And women get mad when I say this. Understand. Why does it take men longer to become men? And why do women reach womanhood so much shorter? Because it takes time for a superior organism to form. Men have more to do and more to actually give. So it takes longer for them to forge into manhood. A woman starts womanhood when she starts bleeding. Her first menage.
What about the rites of passage that our
All gone.
No, I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
or those rites of passages, catering to raising men into their adulthood in a more faster manner.
Yeah, and the rites of passage used to be in the school system. It used to be the sports that we played. until feminism put in, Rockefeller, through feminism, put in Title IX and said that any sports that are played by boys in the schools must also be played by girls in equal amounts. And since girls don't play sports, they don't play football, they don't play basketball, so boys have suffered as a result of that. And so what did they do? They put cheerleading in as a sport. Have you seen cheerleading? Oh, cheerleading, look at it. They have to stand on top of one another and they kick and they go in. That's not a sport. It's an activity that they made into a sport.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying? So boys are circumvented from becoming men because boys have to be forged into men. You have to make a man through the trial by fire. Boys do not just become men. Boys need to be tested. That's why they're dropping out of school, because they're not being tested. The female curriculum is just about us kumbaya, and it's just, oh, 1 and 1 is 3. It's not 3, but you tried. We'll give you a mark for that. And everybody gets a trophy. Okay, for participating. So they're going home feeling sad. This is crap. You either win or lose when you're a male. You got to prove. I remember back on the court, I couldn't play basketball for shit until I got with my boys, because I came from West Indies. I could play soccer. But when I came in there and I learned to play basketball, and they said, man, don't even worry about it. He don't know how to play. I got down and I got a jump shot was so deadly from outside the park. It was like, forget it. And all of a sudden, I proved myself. Okay, come on. You got to show and prove as a man. But they're not giving the boys a chance to show and prove because the curriculum does not allow it. Go ahead,
my second part of the question would be, in that respects, then we can understand why street culture and gang culture and other forms of activity that they call hopping off the porch is so attractive to men, young men who want to prove themselves, and they want to climb the ladder of social hierarchy. And in our hoods, our neighborhoods, our communities,
teeth and get their buttons and their stripes.
What is a gang? What is a gang, family?
A consortium of men.
It's a nature. It's a nation.
It's a nation.
It's a nation. You see, if you prevent male energy from being absorbed into the nation and to do their parts as men, they're going to go out and create their own nation.
That's right.
And what is a gang? A gang are nations. They're tribes. They set up. What do they have? They have a rites of passage. They have an economy.
Beat down line.
Yes, they have an economy, the drugs, and whatever is necessary to bring that money in. They have a hierarchy for respect.
They have a constitution.
They have a constitution. Men.
And they have a penalty system.
Yes.
You don't follow constitutional law.
They have a penalty system. So you have to understand, men build societies. Women don't build societies. They support it, which is why they've been given the power. You understand? Listen to that. Most people don't understand that. They hate me for saying it. It's all in my book, The Wounded Womb. You can put it up there one more time. It's in my book. It is men is about power. Women is about love. You understand what the power of love? Power of love is powerful because it motivates men to do crazy shit. We go out and conquer things. We go out and do things that are crazy in order for that love that a woman gives. So to the exchange of power is a man. The way that a man gets power is by giving up love. The way that a woman gets love is by giving up power. Understand, when you deal with power, that's a male energy. There's a whole other kind of power. There's a positive power and a negative power.
Not that Tommy and Ghost stuff y'all be talking about.
But understand that the gangs themselves, there it is. The gangs themselves are a actual society. If you don't allow them to be incorporated into the society at large, they will go out and create their own society because it isn't for the male. The male is the conqueror. He's the one who goes out, he investigates, he solves problems. You don't give him any problems to solve, he'll create problems. He will no longer become the provider, he'll become the predator. So you have to understand that a male energy must be forged. And that's what they took away from us. They took all of the means by which you forge a boy into manhood through sports. That's what sports. What does all these great football players and basketball players say when they talk about their white coach, who's like a father to me?
Oh, hold on. I was at the MLK Day thing at the Riverside Church. I saw Marshawn Lynch on stage with J. Cole and the boy Ryan Coogler this week talking about the same thing.
Yes.
And remember Marshawn, huh?
I spoke about it from my own personal experiences being incarcerated in Virginia, which is like a buck state, right? The dudes, and they was normally Christians, interestingly enough, they would be super riotous and belligerent in the unit. But the minute that the white shirt officer came around, commonality between them, right? Even if they was on the unit hustling, cutting, I mean, they was doing the most. But when that white boy came around and started talking sports to them, they got up underneath his deodorant real quick.
Right.
And I'm like, damn, look at this. And then they would start telling me their stories about how, yeah, you know, it's hard for me to look at white people the way that you do because, you know what I'm saying? Like when I ain't have a father in Pop Warner, the white male has dominated, you know what I'm saying, that particular space in that black young man's heart. From that period and point, it made it impossible for him to look at him any other way. He looks at him as an authority figure, point blank. And that shit is weird, man.
Well, you know, you have to understand the white man at that point can afford to do that because he's had the resources to be able to develop into that type of fixture in a home. He's practiced on his own children. He studied based upon people giving him that kind of up one leg up, that kind of support system. He's always had it. Not all of them, because there's some white people that was doing the dregs themselves. But I'm saying to you that if you are dealing with someone like that, these people who are coaches, they're making millions a year. Okay, and they only hey, listen, if you got a thoroughbred, you're gonna beat down that thoroughbred, or you're gonna nurture that thoroughbred. You're gonna wash it down. You're gonna scrub it down. You're gonna make sure it feed right. Yeah, that's what he is nothing but a thoroughbred, and he's just using psychology to get his thoroughbred to perform.
Because, like you said, and like Marshawn Lynch said, these, like Blue said, they're bringing out these young boys from buck states, right? Florida, Georgia, Texas, Louisiana. Their parents sometimes live in abject poverty. They do not get paid a coin. Ryan Coogler was reflecting, because he was also a football player. This is the director of Black Panther, from Oakland. He said that him and Marshawn used to play against each other from Pop Warner all the way up. And he said that they were playing in stadiums with 69,000 people in college because Marshawn Lynch, he went to a college that was a few blocks away from his home. 69,000 was the capacity, and they were playing in front of them. He asked Marshawn, "Did you get a coin for that?" Marshawn said no. So the mentality of keeping these young bucks poor and needy, right? While the coach doesn't even have to have but 1% of the wealth that he's siphoning off from their from their activities, and it looks, he can make that $1,000 look like $100,000. So after we finish playing a game and we win, coach buys us Whoppers. Coach bought Marshawn Lynch the Skittles and whatnot. Right now, you don't have to make a deep investment. You throw a pair of Nikes at them, and that's dad. That's dad. Now coach. Oh, I don't know about all white people because coach treated me good.
And that's exactly what it is. That you've turned the field nigga into a house nigga.
That's exactly, because Marshawn Lynch was saying that we don't know what to do with all of this money when we get it. Right. And we are scared to say anything while we're in the house, because the thing is, if you raise any noise in the house, they'll kick you out the house and take the money from you. That's and he was like, we wasted all of our lives. We got banged up. We got CTE in the brain just in the house for 5 years. Yep. So we're shut. He was like, yo, we will not say anything for 5 years. Then when we leave, we have the financial advisors that are still hoarding over our money, and they tell you that you can't say nothing, that you can't talk, and then they have them invested in everything outside of their neighborhoods. Indeed. Military, prison, all of these stock markets and whatnot. So they basically neuter them and castrate them, and then they'll look at a person like me and you like, why y'all raising so much ruckus?
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, conditioning. You remember conditioning. What you do to the horse. Remember what they said about the horse.
Yeah, you break it.
Remember how you condition, you break the horse, you break the horse the same way. But you don't have to do it with any kind of whip anymore. You just do it psychologically.
That's right.
Okay, so the new psychological whipping post is you dealing with athletes because you know we're superior. Just the thing is, we've been cornered. We've been made to stay in a specific bracket, and that is athleticism. Our athleticism has now been overwrought. We have been just raising, or looking for the alpha black male through his prowess physically. It's nothing to do. I mean, when you look at the Michael Jordans and the Jabars and the and all of the monsters that's out there doing their thing, it ain't nothing to us. See, we see that when I was in playground.
On a
I mean,
playground.
I saw him with was Alcindor. Yeah, Alcindor used to come around my block all the time. It is nothing new to us, but we don't see the people like a Ryan Coogler. We don't see the people who are up there in the suits, the three-piece suits. We don't see them in governance. We only see them in a capacity that they want you to be seen. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Look at
Yeah.
this. My boy said, Bug said that. He's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. All of them were racist. And I mean, Earl Campbell was the monster. He was the first Marshawn Lynch, to tell you the truth.
Mm.
But to let you know, to let you understand, what were you going to say?
The question that everybody wants to know is that you use that killer jumper on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No. I went there to watch. No, I went there to watch. I was there as a I used to run with three of my brothers. Two of them have passed away. God bless them.
God bless.
Bless them, yeah. And we used to run as a crew, just four of us. And at that time I could actually throw it down.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to have all these bracelets on my hand, and I was in the park in Marcy Park because that's where my first wife used to live in Marcy.
Okay.
And I was up there. We were balling. I went up and I was going to throw it down, and it had net, and I got caught. My bracelets got caught in the net, and I said I was coming down. My whole thing flipped upside down, and I said, "Oh!" And you ever see when you're about to fall and you know you're going to hit something?
And you know you're gonna fall.
When I fell
out there somewhere with that.
Yeah, when I fell on my wrist, and I broke my radius. And then when I came down with my feet, boom, I busted my ankles.
Oh.
And from that point, it was never healed. I couldn't leap like I did, so I had to make sure my jump shot was on when we were playing from that point on. Because I would leap. I could leap. I could really leap.
Jay-Z probably was in his project window looking out.
Oh, he was a kid at that time. Yeah, he was a little kid at that time.
Well, because of what he saw, he became a rapper. So
No.
You know how
you know what? People. No, that was just me playing around because that was my music. I used to sing in a group, and the group was in the Marcy Projects, and we were good. We were we used to sing out there at night, and everybody used to be in the windows listening to us doing a cappella and all that. But that's another story altogether.
Wow.
But anyway, I tell you this, brothers, this has been good.
Yes.
What time we on? How long we been on there? This has been.
We've been on a while, so we're gonna wind it down.
2 hours and 47 minutes to be exact.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody's still out there.
1,138.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Oh, that's my Cash App right there. Your little pennies, they always help. Thank you so much, beloved family. Thank you, brother. Red and Blue, you all are, standing up. You're doing the work. Many blessings to you both. Keep strong.
Look,
and definitely, yes, sir.
The premise of tonight's show is actually to, raise awareness that 10 years ago, on January 8th, the year is 2010, our first inaugural episode of Blog Talk Radio, Know the Ledge Radio, you were one of our first guests. You came on, Sister Roz Mariah Bay was first, and then you came on, Baba, and
Really?
just with your presence. And before that, even before that episode, my first time even lecturing on Blog Talk Radio, I remember you were there for me. You were holding me down.
Oh, yes.
Super Hey, it was from American Gangsters to Super Hey Rules. It was on Icky Love and Brother Ankh show on Blog Talk.
Oh, wow.
Man, like '09. And
Wow,
you,
that was old. But
yeah, you being there with me gave me the kind of remember, because that was like going on back in the days. Their show was like going on Jerry Springer damn near. You know what I mean?
I
It was
remember,
a lot of
yeah.
shenanigans. So,
Yes.
you know, it was hostile territory. But having you as my master teacher to guide me and hold me down, it gave me the strength. It gave me everything that I needed. And that show gave me the legs to say, you know what, Blue, let's go ahead and do our own thing and put this on our shoulders, and let's do Know the Ledge Radio. So
Good.
10 years ago, you breathed life into not just our lungs, but from my travels and what I've been told by many people, millions of people's lungs. You understand? Because they were able to benefit off of that demonstration.
Wonderful.
So I just want to let you know that we will never forget that. We're still holding it down. We're still doing what we were
Permission to do.
To do, you know, and hopefully we'll do that for someone else that's coming behind us, and we'll do what you did for us and breathe life into their platform and give them.
Yeah, I see Baba Hey Rule is in the chat. Shout out to Baba.
Oh, Baba to my big elder.
Samaj. Stomach.
Yeah,
so,
you know what I'm saying? And
yes.
Just having the presence of the elders and the master teachers, you know, in the building to oversee. Oh, Black Dot is in the building as well. Shout out to Dot. You know,
thanks, Dot.
And you know, just to have, you know what I'm saying, the ones who have provided guidance, you know, to be able to still be with us and walk with us and witness, you know, the work in real time. And like I said, the work is an extension of your work. The work is an extension of all of the elders and, you know, the luminaries in our particular circle and cipher who we've come into contact with to say, well, how can I add on to this? You know what I'm saying? My lineage and my legacy that I come from is already one that is enormous. You know, how do you put a piece onto that? How do you put a capstone onto that pyramid? So, you know,
you just keep, you know, just to tell you all, beloved brothers, just keep the conversation going.
Absolutely.
That's the secret.
The beating drum.
You know, yes, keep the drum, not just that drum, the air drum. That's the drum you beat.
Both, the drum is both drums.
The air drum. That you know, the words are the tapping of the sticks and the beating of the, what do you call it? You're pounding out your words. You're definitely making, because we used to speak with the drum. You know, so give thanks to the platforms that you all, the fact that you all came up at a time when you all were mastering the technologies that we didn't have, and that then gave me a segue into a larger community of young people, because at that time the technology was not available. We were still on those VHSs and whatever it is we could get people to buy from that point. Now I have over maybe 350 tapes going around the world as a result of the works that you all are doing, both audio and visual. And the fact that I, you know, learned how to do my university online and how to be able to do consultations online, all of this utilizing the technology just to broadcast and use the etheric waves to be able to reach people around the world. And again, you all are now advancing that knowledge, and I'm so happy and that you are doing that kind of work. You, AA, Black Dot, Brother Rich, King Simon, all of you all, and even Sanetta, all of you all are actually doing the work that is necessary and mandated by you, because now you have a responsibility to take that torch forward. And I'm very happy that you all have done it with class, and you've done it with with the kind of integrity necessary for it to remain sacred, because a lot of people have polluted it. They've really pissed on this consciousness community. They've really taken it and started doing stupid things with it. They've used their 15 minutes of fame by standing on the shoulders of my elders and thinking that the information was theirs, not realizing that they're just passing it forward. None of this information belongs to any of us. We are just here to pass it on to the next person so that they can keep the torch lit. Because if there is incarnation, and there is, I want to come back to a greater world. I don't want to come back to a world where the people are stupider and dumber than when I left it. You have a job to progress in consciousness, but never leave the spiritual aspect. With all the technology that you have at your disposal, never leave that inner voice that speaks to you through the silence. Always know that it's the silence is the direct connection, the direct avenue to the creator. That silence is your dial tone. That's your dial tone to the creator. If you don't come into that silence, you have no contact with the creator. You only have contact with secondhand information that has been downloaded into your brain in the form of your thoughts. So know this. We love you. I love you. And that word is used so much today, and it doesn't really mean anything to anyone. But I love all of you all in the work that you all are doing. I support you all, and everything that you all are doing, keep the integrity in it. This is not about the ego. It's not about you using the ego, which is your free will, to subvert somebody. You don't have to argue with the truth. Truth doesn't need to be defended. It just needs to be spoken. Overstanding in that, and you become great in what you do. Now, again, if they wish to deal with, I see the Cash App. Thank you very much for those of you who do help. We do need every little penny because, again, this is a war. It's a guerrilla warfare, and we need as much help from the community as possible. Also, the 800 number, 847-1291, 800-847-1291. That will get you contacts with the Juice Plus, our university, and of course, go up to our university's website at uksnow.org, and you can get access to my latest webinar. Thank you. That's the other thing. We make sure that when you go up to the university's website, family, do not take the 8-hour, the first one. The 8-hour one is just 1 8-hour shot. Okay, those are for the people who missed the last lecture, the original lecture. Take the second one that deals with the 4 breakdown. Okay, and make sure that you're studying, take notes. There's a lot of information being given there to prepare you for what's getting ready to come up between 2020 and 2030. If there's any information that you do not understand, overstand, please, you know, write it down. And if you want to, come into our university, see the different levels: initiate, ascension, perfection, for both of what I teach. This is metaphysical psychology. The initiate level is the entry level course in metaphysical psychology for you to understand what your thoughts really are and what you are, not just who you are, but what you really are. The other thing also is that when the time comes for you to, if you can't get in contact with me, make sure you go to my website, which is not website, but my email address. That's sunnu777@gmail.com. That's SUNNU 777@gmail.com. If you cannot get into, or you don't know how to get into the actual the webinar, just put webinar in the subject box in all capital letters, and then I will put you into our mailing list and keep you informed of when we're getting ready to have the next one. My brother Blue, my brother Red, thank you so much for this opportunity to address the family. And hopefully we could do this again sometime.
Absolutely. The honor is always ours. Thank you for blessing us with your presence and the information. It is, it's worth its weight in gold, you know what I mean? And it's transformative. So I know a lot of people, most importantly, walked away tonight, even that much more intrigued with themselves. I would say that, all of this information ultimately leads back into our search to know ourselves,
Indeed.
as the
Indeed.
axiom says over the pyramids and all of the temples. Man, know thyself, and that's what your information represents. Shout out to Black Dot, and that's what your school represents. And I want to say thank you. You know what I'm saying, for giving us tools and the direction for us to go in to find ourselves.
Much love to you all, man.
No doubt.
Stay out there for you all staying with us for this long. Much love to everyone. And hopefully we'll see you in our university. Remember, we're starting on March the 21st on the summer solstice. I mean, on the equinox. I'm sorry.
No doubt.
And, you can go up online or call me at 800 and I'll direct you to participate. And I'm hoping to see as many people in there as we do have, in the chat box, those who are really, really ready to examine their own thinking and to see what they can do to access the silence. Much love to you, beloved brothers, and thank you so much for everything that you all are doing. Keep up the good work.
We'll see you soon, all right? We're
Okay,
gonna do it
Hotep.
real soon.
You do.
All right, no doubt.
Hotep.
Hotep. Peace.
Peace.
All right. I want to end it off with an announcement. We have February 22nd, family, in the state of Connecticut, the Facts Initiative 2020. We have some big things, some great news that we're going to share with the family, some powerful news dealing with, just prosperity, I guess, and abundance, and just the ancestors smiling on us. So look forward to being at this monumental presentation, and of course we will be live streaming it right through this platform the same way.
It's gonna be lit.
It's gonna be lit. We have my brother PUP Pup, Trillionaire Trav, Sabrina Wright, Red and Blue Pill keynote speakers, right there at the Eco Space. That is going to be in Connecticut, CT. You could contact our good brother at 203-841-9039, brother Heru, 203-841-9039, and let him know that Red and Blue sent you. If you want to be a vendor, if you want to do anything, if you have any questions, just hit him up. February 22nd, 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., 3/22/2020. Be in the building, y'all.
And
go
and follow Urban X TV if you haven't already.
Yeah.
All right. Black Dot, I heard you read on your Monday Melanin. Yeah.
Melanin Monday.
Yeah. You were speaking on your experience by attending the pop-up and witnessing the passing of the torch to young Malcolm. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Powerful.
And I spoke about it on the interview that we did with Knowledge Born of Law. And I said, man, the further evaluation, that whole 10-year cycle conversation that we had on Brother Richard's program, I had to reevaluate, my options. And I was like, with further thought, Black Dot had the best decade leading up from 2010 to 2020. And I stated my reasons why I had to retract my other nomination and put that brother forward. And one of the main reasons, especially, is because he did something that I haven't seen a lot of people, not too many that I can speak of, do in our lifetime in this community. And that is to properly prime his son to take the reins from him, you know what I'm saying? And do it in such a way at such a young age that, what will young Malcolm look like in 30 or 40 years? You know what I'm saying? Making continuous contributions to this pedigree of information, minus the trauma and all of the other things that we have to had experience, going through the ranks to get this information.
Super facts.
So I want to shout out that brother. I want to shout out his family. You know, also the fact that he's always utilized the family dynamic in his demonstration. You know what I'm saying? All hands on deck. You know, you was talking about a conversation that you had with Shabazz, you know, out there on 125th Street, and he was talking about
the kingdom,
the king, you know, the king and the kingdom and the castle, you know what I'm saying? And how important it is to utilize family first, you know what I'm saying, when establishing kingdom and running it in the way in which it's most effective. And
well, you know, they say that the king is not honored in his kingdom, and they're talking about the household, because that is the kingdom that the king is in. That's your castle, is your house.
He has dominion over that.
Yeah, the fact that the children don't respect the king, the children don't respect the father in the household. He's not honored in his household, but when he steps out, if he's like a teacher or somebody prominent, you know, he's getting, people want to take selfies, and they you know, they show him all of this love, but when you come home, you can't get your son or your daughter,
right,
nobody to wash the dishes and pick up. You know, they don't treat you the same. So to see the family dynamic at play is powerful. It's heartwarming. You know, it gives people faith who may be going through issues where they're not being received well in their kingdom. And it also shows that, you know, the possibility to have your progeny carry on tradition is possible. And those of us in this community that are sacrificing so much doing this work, we need to see that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to see that promise, because it's not promised to us. So, yeah, that's a divine right, you know, and I give ultimate salutes to Black Dot for his demonstration and what he's doing. And make sure y'all go to Urban X TV, subscribe to it. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, Know the Ledge Media. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. I don't trip on the likes too much, because it is what it is, but apparently they say that that's good for the algorithms. So I need y'all to smash that like button. I need 859 likes. You know, if you can't find a like button, put a thumbs up in the comment section or something. I don't know. But, you know, it is what it is. We'll be back tomorrow for Third Eye Thursday. And after that, we'll be back for Melanin Mondays. And look forward to every Wednesday for a show just like this. Y'all already know there's a lineup coming. KT's on a conveyor belt. AA is coming. Black Dot is coming. You know, there's so many people. We're gonna do a panel where it'll be about 6 of us. That's coming. Mama Pill is on the way. You know, just go into the archives of Know the Ledge Radio. We started out with Dr. Phil. We started out with Sister Roz Mariah Bay, with the Mother Principle, the Divine Feminine Principle, to set it off.
And KT was right after that with his very first Hollywood Dakota show.
Very first Hollywood Dakota. So KT
is around the time of the Haitian earthquake, right? Because that happened on the 10th, or we started on the 8th, so that happened right after that. We had on. Huh?
He did Avatar?
No. He didn't do Avatar yet. I got to go back to that show. Then we had King Stephen and Anton Edwards talking about
disaster
preparation. Then we had Dr. Sabion a little while, you know, after that. But
and then AA.
Yeah.
I think AA was on the KT show. If I remember the episode, I heard it back recently.
I gotta listen to it again. You know,
because KT did 2 parts.
He did 2 parts. Yes,
that's a factory. Yeah. So all of these are coming. You need to hit the subscribe and the notification so you could be alerted to when it's coming. And with that being said, love and light to everyone. You know, share the video, leave comments. You know, talk black to us. Let us know what's going on in your minds. Somebody said Umar Johnson. Umar is an alumni. You know, Umar started cooking on his platform in like 2009 or no 2010. So, you know, I wouldn't leave that off the table. You know,
Yes.
I wouldn't leave that off the table. Umar's a legend. Sophia Stewart, she's coming. She's
coming.
Yeah,
She's coming.
she'll be here as well. Coming back. We have a class. I remember that show. I couldn't sleep that night when we did the show with Sophia Stewart.
Right.
Not because she washed me up and said, "Don't call her Sophia." She washed me. She was washing. Washing it. But the information, like, just to speak to the woman who wrote The Matrix, and I'm red pill and he's blue, like,
yes.
that was surreal.
Yeah, surreal. It's mind-boggling.
She is the oracle.
And she got bars, so she got
bars.
Bring her back.
Yeah.
She want to do her thing. She personally reached out and requested that she want to touch and talk to this audience. So we got to get her back in the building. We got to honor her requests. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And yeah, you know, it's going. So you know, it's a lot. It's a lot taking place. But once again, thankful for the opportunity to have this moment with you all. You know, not just share it for ourselves, but being able to participate, you know, with the audience, and for you guys to get some top shelf information. You know what I'm saying? This is the stuff that we grew up on, that we was used to, you know, tapping into on a weekly, a monthly basis. You know what I'm saying? Here in the earlier version of the conscious community, should I say? You know?
Yeah, my hair started growing.
Yeah, and I took, you know, I listened to everybody, and I inadvertently, because I had
I'll do it.
You swear you got mad hair.
No, I don't got mad hair. I'm growing my hair. You know what I'm saying? Growing my hair gradually. You know what I'm saying? I'm allowing it to manifest itself into whatever it's gonna become. And I got waves. I got gray. I don't got, my shit ain't gray. It's silver.
Yeah, you got silver waves.
I got silver waves. You know, and my shit growing. So I'm being obedient.
What you going for? The 2 braids like Pop Smoke? You going for the 2 braids? What they call that? French braids?
The TWA. I'm going for
TWA. Somebody said I said the Duke of Tear. Yeah, the Duke is. We definitely got to bring the Duke back. You know, we got to bring the Duke. Had a classic episode with us in 2010. You know,
long time.
Huh?
I said it's been a long time, so we got to do that.
It's been a very long time.
Aleem, they said Dr. Aleem, of course.
Aleem is definitely. Aleem is going to be one of the. We had. How many episodes do we have with Aleem?
A lot.
Yeah, Aleem is body bag.
It's still, you know, every time you get Aleem in the building, it's a refreshing experience. Of course, Taj
is on the way. That's we might have to do this more than once a week though. This is crazy.
I've been watching Sabia, you know, move throughout the planet, and he has a pedigree of information that he's obtained from Spain, dealing with the Moors.
Mm-hmm.
Holla at him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Billy Carson and Terrence Howard on the same show would be a spaceship. And
fire.
Put that together. Panic. We're definitely gonna get Panic.
If any of y'all know Juicy Smollett, tell him to reach out to Terrence and get us on the line. Build that bridge. Yafa Bay. She did powerful. Yeah, but Father Rich, because Father Rich brought me on to be a co-host. That was one of my first co-hosting jobs on Blog Talk Radio with Bobby Hemmett. That was the show where Bobby said that tilapia had human faces. And I was on a floor in Harlem, like literally. I had just had some tilapia a few days ago.
That's the Africans on 116. Yo, that's why I got introduced to tilapia. It was from the Africans at 11 p.m. because they had the late night restaurants in little Africa. I was like, yo, where they get this fish? Yo, it tastes like steak. It's crazy.
Facts.
It's crazy.
Facts.
Yes.
Okay, my aunt Petrova and Hadia. Those peoples.
I've been
Yeah,
watching
so
Wave, and I commented today, like, I love her marketing is amazing. Her online
exceptional.
marketing. I love the fact that her family dynamic is dope. You know what I'm saying? She raised her children on the information. Hadia just went through something with breast augmentation. She removed her implants. So I definitely want to speak to her, you know, so that message can get out to some of these sisters. Jewel Pookrum, that's the OG right there. She's a little tight with us right now, but we're gonna work it out. You know what I'm saying? And
What you did to Jewel?
Huh?
What you did to Jewel?
The last time that I had interviewed her, right, it was like 3 or 4 years ago here in Atlanta. I had sent the footage to Rich to air, and she said that I was supposed to send it to her first, something to that degree. So she had an issue with that. You know what I mean? She had an issue
Yeah, we're gonna talk to her about that. So Zaza, I'm looking at a panel of goddesses right now. Y'all giving me some great ideas because
Rock, I was building with Soul Messiah for a moment the other day at our pop-up. He came through. So we got to holler because Rock and Soul Messiah have all of these global Moorish stories by going through
traveling the globe
and going all of these places in Europe. And they like us where they like, yo, they just don't tap in for a show and get out. They make sure that they book time so they can go and do the investigation, hit the museums up, speak to the people, do the anthropological work to get real information about our ancient antiquity in some of these places. So they got mad stories that they need to they want to share. I need to holler at Yada. I did an interview with Yada that I never put out in the back of Mama Pill crib for like 2.5 hours.
What year was that?
USFL. That's yeah, I'm familiar with USFL. And what's the other
mall? USFL. And my dude. What's my dude?
Yeah, what's the other mall that we build with?
Yona Bay with the Lambo.
Yeah, it's my dude. Yeah, I gotta holler at my guy. He down here too. Of course, we're gonna get Supernova on.
So, with the family support, of course, because this is publicly supported media. Of course, this is we're not signed to CBS. We're not dancing for Revolt or anything. So this is on y'all. If y'all want Know the Ledge to be more than a weekly show, because there's so many people to bring on here. If we do one episode, that's 52 episodes in 1 year. That's 52 episodes. So y'all just already named more than 50 people. So if we want to expand,
of course,
we know what we got to do.
Ciasia's coming.
Beautiful Ciasia
coming.
I want to reach out to the sisters from Lucid Living. I heard about her. Pretty Boss TV. Conjure Queen.
Conjure Queen got to come.
Legend. She got a super wave.
Joe Williams.
That's Joe Williams. Yeah, that's gonna happen.
That's gonna
happen. We're gonna even bring Tyreek on here for an interview before we do the book breaking documentary. We had him on Know the Ledge Radio back in the days, so we're gonna bring him on the show as well. Yeah, Planet Asia definitely is coming. Somebody said bring Kanye on. You know what? That's not far-fetched.
It's gonna happen.
That's not far-fetched.
Shout out to Black Dot. He's in the building still. He can attest the fact that we did a interview with Kanye in 2002. This was before Through the Wire, before he had the accident, and we fought our publisher to get that interview on the front cover of the newspaper, and nobody knew who Kanye was at the time. But we had a unnerving belief that this dude was gonna be the one and pop, and we made a gamble and it paid off. So we definitely need to bring that full circle at some point.
Right.
For my journalistic career, I have to interview Kanye again at some point. And then we got so much more information to share, you know.
Yeah, things have changed.
Yeah, that would be.
That's not out of the question. You know, that can happen real soon.
And that's gonna happen.
You dig?
The canon will happen. Ralph Smart, I would love to interview Ralph Smart.
Yeah,
I would love to interview Ralph Smart. You know what I'm saying?
Get a hello.
Gano Grills, we got to get him back in. You know what I'm saying? Because Gano Grills, we've interviewed him several times.
Early Gano. We had early Gano.
Jay Morrison. I want to interview Jay Morrison as well.
And then we got all of the shifters to interview. Yeah. Rizza Islam, 19 Keys, Derek Grace, Ben X, Pop Darby, Billionaire PA.
Chicago Crypto Hustler. I can't wait to holler at him. Look, Aquarius Maximus is in Africa right now at a crypto summit. They just put her thing up on the NASDAQ ticker, you know, and put the article out about, you know, the guap coin.
Can you share that right now?
Huh?
You got it queued up. Can you share it?
I don't have it queued up. Wait, I'll queue it up. You know, so all of these things are you know, Dawn Dixon, you know what I mean? There's just so many people that are doing monumental things that we need to holler at in real time so we could document these stories.
TK Kirkland. Yeah, and Bada's coming on the show. Ajna got to come on the show, you know. And of course, the feat of all feats would be Bobby Hemmett for 2020. Y'all already know that, like, you know, the imagination is a great thing. So I could put my imagination towards that because I started out with Bobby Hemmett. Like I said, my first hosting show on Blog Talk ever was with UGR, Underground Railroad Radio, because Brother Rich had a booming channel on Blog Talk as well. And he interviewed Bobby. And I was there. And I felt I felt accomplished. Yes, Minister Jew and Brother Ampu.
Shout out to the
brother also. That's also Illuminate. That's
Brother Oba, of course.
You know what I mean? Will 777, Buddha Clinks. All of these are graduates. All of these are luminaries. All of these are alumni of Know the Ledge. Loaded Lux is an alumni. We have a show with Loaded Lux called More Fire Fridays.
More Fire is called That Work, right?
That's facts.
What was his
You're gonna get this work.
Yeah, gonna get this work. Yeah.
Oh, they said Ghetto Shaman. Yes, thank you for reminding me about the shaman. We bring in the shaman. It's too many people, man. We gotta have this conversation with y'all, because I would love to be in a studio, like how Nick Cannon and all of them are in studios, like Zoe and all of them are in studios. This is cool being in the house, but this platform and the enormity of what we're doing, we gotta grow. You know, we need to put wings on this show and take this thing where it needs to be.
Yeah. Let me share.
This could be right there with the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, let me show this real quick. Yeah, I see my screen. See the Instagram?
Yes.
All right.
NASDAQ.
Yeah. Legendary. You see the zoom?
A little more. One more zoom.
Yeah. You know, family, these are members of your community. You know, you might not know them the way that we know them.
Facts.
Dig what I'm saying? They might not have the most followers and all of that, but there's people out here. Huh?
They're making big moves.
There's people out here making big moves. And it's not just for them and their progeny and their legacy. They're doing it for, you know, the collective, for the quote unquote, and this is a very ambiguous term, for the people. Okay? Stood in front of NASDAQ Davos, then this happens. You know, we are not on Ethereum. We have their own. She has her own blockchain, but it's dope nonetheless. Nasdaq, Progress, Guapcoin, altcoins to watch in 2020. You know what I'm saying? This is something that you can get in on the ground floor. You know, you see her IG, Aquarius Maximus. Go follow her. Go follow Guapcoin. You know, read her story, see what she's about, so you can familiarize yourself. These are people that are right amongst you that are doing monumental things and etching real-time history in real time. You feel me? And, you know, collectively with support, you know, we can push one another to the next level. All right? That's what it's about.
So small businesses, brands, get at us. We're going to be doing an advertisement package and everything. You know, we're taking this thing where it needs to go. Sponsors, hit us up. You know, get at us, holler at us. You know, hit us up. Let us know what's good. Like I said, this is sky's the limit. You know, sky's the limit.
Yo, and I got major announcements to make, you know, about how my life's just changed, but I can't get into it right now. I have to wait till after Monday, you know what I'm saying? But I want to speak to y'all about, you know, some amazing things that I discovered dealing with this hemp, you know what I'm saying? And how it has changed my life because, as the brother said, I submitted. You know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I allowed myself to be a receiver of all of this divine information that has been wanting to express itself through some form of consciousness. And I'm being rewarded from the universe because of that. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
But when the time comes, and it will come, you know, we'll be able to share that. For the family that is here in the Atlanta area that wants to attend any informational CBD events, we do have an event tomorrow. We have one on Friday, and we got one on Saturday. So I'll be dropping the information on my page pertaining to that. And we do have the amazing Shasta retreat returning spring equinox from March 19th to the 23rd. Now Shasta, go ShastaMeditation.com. All right, ShastaMeditation.com. Somebody will be in contact with you. I am going to do a follow-up interview with Mama Kamara because I did something on Instagram and it got a very well response. You know what I'm saying? It was well received. Her line wasn't that great. You know, I got back in HD. You see my shit? Right?
Who you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
What, 3 hours later?
Nah,
What are you talking about?
maybe 3 hours.
Nah, you did. You snapped back. You snapped back.
So I want to get the sister on here in HD. You know, so she could get that information up. You know, powerful information. It's gonna be a powerful retreat. Going back to Mount Shasta for the equinox, honoring Mama Earth, doing the work. We invite you to join us. All right, ShastaMeditation.com. You dig? Yes, that was Kamara that day. Yes, it was. All right. And new moon coming on the 24th at 444. This also happens to be the Chinese New Year. And they had 444 cases of that outbreak, you know. And I was talking about, I did a post and it went viral yesterday when I was giving people the meaning of the angelic numbers of 4444. I mean 44, 444, 444. But I also explained that's linear language and it's not quantum. It doesn't deal with the dualistic aspects of these numbers. These numbers are not all just, you know, angelic. You feel me? They have a different energy as well. And when you deal with 44, you're dealing with the blood. When you deal with 444, you're dealing with generations, which is bloodlines. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm seeing these numbers pop up, and the number 4 is ominous in Chinese culture. It means death. So anything with a combination of 4 in their culture, to them is very terrifying. So don't get caught up in the hype and the hysteria, but you are going to see this thing matriculating and going baby on baby. You feel me? So make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do in your own personal space to fortify you against any unnecessary pathogens that can take you off of your path. Like Ross Ben said, 2020 is about clear vision. But like Dr. Phil said, you know, these people is also about, you know, clearing the field of useless eaters and useless breeders. You know what I'm saying? Do not fall up in underneath nobody's experiment. You know what I mean? You have to stay focused and make better decisions during this time. And with that, I want to say peace, love, and light. I got go work to do. All right?
Yeah, too.
And yeah, hit them likes
I
and
forgot. Yeah, another Ra'aku.
allow somebody else to participate in this experience that you experience. Pressing the likes allows YouTube's algorithms to recommend this to other people. That's all that's about. It's not about
self-aggrandizement.
Clout.
It ain't about dopamine.
Yeah.
We're not gonna do the dance. We're not gonna do the baby dance. We're not gonna do the bop after we get mad likes. It doesn't do anything.
We don't do that.
You know. But it's good for the algorithms. Shout out to Ra'aku, the Cosmo Physics. Shout out to Sister Petunia. Shout out to Sister Myra L. You know, all of our alumni. Just bringing up their names. I'm so eager to have these shows because, you know, the world is going to benefit from, you know, each one of them coming through the pillars, and we get this information to the family.
This pedigree of information.
This pedigree.
We will benefit. They will benefit from sharing it, and you will benefit from receiving it. You know what I'm saying? So it's all good. All right. But again, I want to say thank you. Peace, love, and light. Feel me? And we'll see you on the next one.
Facts. Right. Peace.
Peace.